Welcome to the Sailor Noob podcast, where a superfan and a noob talk about the original Sailor Moon episode by episode. I'm your host, Mikan Hana, joined by my co-host.
I'm the co-host, Caliban, and it's a special.
It sure is, and we're a couple of magical people ready to moon cosmic power make up this episode. Today we are talking about the Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon Supazu Super Sharu in Japanese, or Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon Super Special in English. And this special includes 3 episodes.
Sailor Moon Super Zoo.
Yes!
Don't they ever just say, like, Sailor Moon Super Zoo Special?
No.
They always do that for Sailor Moon Super Zoo.
Well, all the vowels in Sailor Moon and
sound like
Super
this.
Zoo. Yeah, they're elongated. All of them are. Sailor Moon. Yeah. So anyways, so we're talking about this today. We have, so when I was researching this, it said on Sailor Moon Wiki that it aired after they got their brooches, and we see at the very beginning they're celebrating getting their brooches. But so
I like my new brooch. Me too.
Right,
Let's
exactly.
fight evil.
This is special. Jiang, I think they go.
Super.
But yes, but it turns out that the special actually aired after episode 131, which we haven't covered yet, but we will shortly. So episode 130, which we talked about last week, aired on March 18th, 1995. 131 was March 25th, 1995. So then the Supazu special aired on April 8th, 1995, and 132 aired on April 15th, 1995.
So they took a week off.
Yeah.
Just let people miss it a little bit.
Right.
And we come roaring back.
Come right back. Exactly. And of the 3 episodes, the last episode is based on a short story in Nako Takeuchi's manga.
Okay.
And that short story, for those who are interested, was published in the manga on November 6, 1993.
Okay.
So
like a backup story or something.
Yeah, she has so there are a couple of short stories that she wrote that are not necessarily part of the continuity, and this is one of them. I think it's we'll get to it later, but it's like
I had to watch it, so it better be part of the continuity.
Well, it's like a side story, and it's called in the manga like a Chibiusa picture diary #1, so you know there's more coming.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right.
It's like
can't wait to watch those.
Yeah, Chibiusa is the star of this one, so you know.
Well, I'll tell you one thing: it's 100 times the fun.
It is, because we are told that, so then you know it's true.
That might be too much fun.
I think it might be.
That might be a lethal dosage of fun.
Yeah. My heart is going doki doki at the thought of how much fun this is.
Now, is that doki doki or doki doki?
It's doki doki.
Doki doki. Because those 3 things mean beating very fast. The other one means hammering, specifically on tin.
Yeah. Right.
Tin, not aluminum. And the third one is you don't post White Castle. You don't want to know about it.
I know.
We all know.
Yes. Right. Exactly.
Comfortable. There's a lot of nuance in that Japanese onomatopoeia.
There totally is, and like you're absolutely right. Just a little bit of change changes the meaning. So episode 1 is entitled Kawaii ni Henshin Nakimushi Usagi no Seicho Kiroku in Japanese, or Crybaby Usagi's Growth Record, the English translation, and A Beautiful Transformation, the Journey and Growth of the Crybaby Usagi, the English title.
Let's hit Crybaby a couple more times.
I know. It's not great. So
yeah, let's get to our belittled hero.
yeah, so like you said, it's like a clip show. So do you want to get into
Yeah, I'll talk about what happens.
Yeah.
I'll recap the recap.
Yes.
It opens in the park with pigeons. Usagi and Chibi are sitting on a fountain. They are admiring their new brooches. Mm-hmm. And Chibi, she's especially happy because this means she's no longer a trainee.
Right.
She's a full-fledged Sailor Senshi, according to her.
Right.
But Usagi's not so sure, and Luna's face explodes in front of the camera. Saying, It's no time to argue. And Artemis says, there's a new enemy to worry about. And we see a view of the Dead Moon's big top, which the show's helping us out. Like, the girls don't know about that at this point.
No.
So
No,
anyway,
they don't.
interesting side cut. And Usagi says, we don't know about them at this point, but if they think they can take over the world, they're up against the Sailor Senshi.
Right.
And Chibi says, hey, I understand on me and the rest, but why did Usagi become Sailor Moon?
Great question.
Did you tell her the bad guys stole all the ice cream from the earth or something? Luna says, good question. And, I wasn't sure where it was all going to work out. And it all started with... Yeah, it's a clip show. So just imagine scenes from all the classic episodes under this. And it's funny, from the perspective of a viewer like myself, to see how the animation style has evolved over the years.
Yeah.
It had a much rounder, kind of cuter look, possibly trying to capture more of Takeuchi's art style, I think, in the beginning, before it evolved into the more recognizable, kind of pointy 90s anime look.
Yeah.
I like them both, but I'm just saying, it's a little different. Luna says, Usagi failed a test, and I crawled in her window to talk to her. And, I did that flip thing. I gave her a brooch. It's pretty standard. I told her she had to search for the princess. Of course, at that time, I didn't remember she was the princess. I was frozen for a long time. What do you want from me?
Whoopsies.
And we see Usagi's first transformation into Sailor Moon. And we see her first fight against Morga in the jewelry store. And they
I remember Morga. She sticks out.
Yeah, just, you never forget your first.
Exactly.
Yoma.
And she's terrifying.
Yeah.
So,
and they talk about Queen Beryl and the Dark Kingdom. And they intro all the other Senshi and Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah.
And his secret. We see the scene from episode 34 where Usagi and Mamoru are riding up the elevator in the Starlight Tower.
Classic
and
Sailor Moon.
He explains that he needs the rainbow crystals to get his memories back, which, does he ever get them back?
I think he does, after, so
Like,
it's
specifically
confusing.
in the R movie, there's a plot point about how he didn't remember that he met Usagi, when they were kids, when he was in the hospital.
Okay, so
maybe
he has a certain kind of amnesia, right? And
Yeah,
I think it comes back in stages.
Yeah, well, what stage are we on?
I think after the
Stage
R
4.
movie, it's fully back. But
Okay.
so that's a really good point. But I think so. He gets injured in this episode, and then he gets captured by the Dark Kingdom, and the princess appears. So
Well, she's recapping my recap
I
of the
know.
recap.
Okay, I was gonna say that after he is no longer evil, I think he gets his memories back.
Okay.
So I think while he's evil, he's possessed in some way, and he doesn't remember. He doesn't remember anything.
Oh, Sesame Street. Oh, thank God.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Mr. Stephanopoulos, I believe you're real.
Yeah, you were there, and you were there, and
Mr. Hooper,
Wizard of Oz,
Gordon,
yeah, right, exactly.
and Maria. Anyway, that doesn't. Sesame Street's on HBO now, so
It's not your Sesame Street from your childhood anymore.
Yeah,
This one's rated R.
Arliss is showing up, and see if I can find some old HBO shows. And the guy from Dream On. Oh
Yeah.
boy, when he came to Sesame Street.
I know.
We see Zoisite. Yay!
Yay! I was excited.
And Mamoru revealing that he's Tuxedo Mask before they fight. And we see TM throw himself in front of an attack meant for Sailor Moon and presumably die. But Usagi's tears unite the rainbow crystals to unlock the power of the silver crystal and manifest Princess Serenity.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited about, just, referred excitement, because I was already
epic.
excited about it.
Yeah.
Then we get a recap of the Moon Kingdom and Usagi and Mamoru's past as Serenity and Endymion, and the invasion from Earth of the Dark Kingdom. Queen Serenity uses the silver crystal's power to transport everybody's souls to the 20th century.
As you do.
Here's a question,
Yeah.
once again, I had back in the first season, has not been answered. We see a lot of souls being transported.
Yeah.
Not just the Senshi.
Yeah.
Are there other silver millennials in the 20th century?
I think we're supposed to believe that I read something recently that she
everyone in
transported
Azubu Juban
everyone.
is a reincarnated
Ooh,
member.
I like that idea.
There's a plot in Marvel Comics maybe about 10, 15 years ago where they've done Ragnarok a couple times, but they did Ragnarok in the Thor Norse god part. Asgard is destroyed. And then Thor just wasn't in comics for a while. And eventually they brought him back. And they revealed that all the Asgardians had been sort of transported to Earth and forgot their previous lives.
Okay. So
that's sort of how they
thing.
survived Ragnarok. And so Thor has to go around and awaken them and collect them.
Oh.
And then
Okay,
they
that's cool.
get together in New Asgard, which is in Broxton, Montana or something like that.
What?
Yeah, so there's a whole thing there.
That's not even like on the coast. I always
I
figure
think
like
that was J.
right
Michael
on-
Straczynski writing it.
Okay.
And Oliver Coipel illustrating it. So I'd recommend it. It's pretty good.
I do have like one like little trivia thing that I read recently.
Yeah.
So I think it's in like in this like flashback when Queen Serenity is sending everybody to Earth. In one little bubble, there is another Sailor Senshi in the background that the colors and the hair and everything look a lot like Sailor Neptune. And so somebody on Twitter was like, what is up with that? How is like Sailor Neptune there? And like asked one of the animators who worked on the show and he answered.
Yeah.
And it turns out that he was like, yeah, I think I just picked the same colors because I don't think Sailor Neptune was even created at that point.
Well, okay. Again, I don't. Are you revealing things to me? I don't know.
I am not.
I don't know the origins of Sailor Uranus and Neptune.
I
so
am not revealing
I don't want to
anything to
hear
you.
about that.
Okay.
But okay. I thought maybe there was like a Sailor X. Isn't that what
No.
this show's missing?
Oh my God. Like X-rated? What are you talking about?
All right, everybody. We're going Sailor Noob Nights. She's that's who the bare naked ladies were singing about.
Oh my God.
No, like Planet X.
What is Planet X?
I guess the Dark Moon, Black Moon clan kind of comes from Planet X already.
I
So who's the
guess.
sailor of the Black Moon clan? There you go.
Oh, I don't know.
The 10th planet.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
If there's a sailor for every planet.
Yeah.
So anime often have, a sort of dark reflection of the hero, as like a foil to the hero.
Yeah.
Racer X to Speed Racer.
Okay.
Speed Racer doesn't know that Racer X is his brother.
Mm-hmm.
The Dark Mega Man character whose name I can't remember. Probably some other stuff. Vegeta to Goku. There you go. Whew.
Sure.
Pulled that one off.
Well, I mean, we might see something like that in the future,
Don't.
but I don't know.
Don't do that.
Don't do what?
Don't give me hope.
Hope.
No, don't do that either. We see Point D and the Senshis battle against the DD girls that claims their lives. And we see Sailor Moon overcome her fears to stop Super Barrel and Moon healing escalation the whole situation. And Chibi's like, Sugoi, you survived that? You have the vitality of a cockroach.
Thanks.
And we just skip all over the rewinding time thing, because why not? The show does.
I know.
But we also skip the Aelin On arc.
Of course we do.
Hashtag justice for Aelin On.
I know.
We see the arrival of Chibi-usa, and Artie takes over to narrate the future invasion by the Black Moon clan and Chibi's quest for the Silver Crystal in the past. We see Serenity's fight against Death Phantom and how Chibi helped out to save the day. And we see how Chibi became Sailor Chibi Moon to fight the Deathbusters. We see the final battle at Mugen Academy and how Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Sailor Saturn join them to defeat the latest threat. Some real yada yada going on.
Oh my
here.
God. So this was my thought, and I don't know if you agree or not, but just a detailed recap of what happened in classic Sailor Moon because Chibi wasn't there.
It's all part of Usagi's journey from Crybaby.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe
for
those
sure.
are the most formative parts.
I guess, but I feel like it was fast forwarded because Chibiusa was there and she
But it
experienced
really does undersell the rest.
It does.
I was thinking about live action Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon and how it is, it's 40-something episodes that just is the first season.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it has to do with budget and TV and viewership and that sort of thing. But when you thought let's do a live action thing and who knows, maybe we'll do more. Maybe this is it. You just go, well, we'll do the first thing. They didn't go, it's fun to have some clowns in there or,
Right.
or some other evil ladies who put makeup on.
Deathbusters.
But they didn't even think to do that because classic Sailor Moon is the classic Sailor Moon. I think that's what people really remember.
I mean, honestly, it's probably the season I've watched the most and left the biggest impression on me when I first watched it. If I'm completely honest, I'm not saying it's my favorite season.
Would it be like a movie with a lot of sequels? People are like, oh, Halloween, the shape, it's John Carpenter.
Yeah,
and then
right.
it's maybe you like Halloween 2. Most people don't like Halloween 3. Maybe you like the Rob Zombie reboot or whatever. But people are like, oh, the Halloween. Do we have that with, is it diminishing returns with Sailor Moon? Should we end this show right now?
No, I don't think it's diminishing returns. I mean, I really like
all these
R
mirrors
and
and
S
horses.
and everything.
I don't know.
SuperS,
Proof not available yet. Not pictured.
not a strong start, I have to say. There was a
Doing
stall.
a clip show already.
Yeah, there's a stall coming out of the
Chris
gate.
Martin, what are you doing here?
Yeah, right. So.
Okay, well, a stall coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
I don't think a horse can stall, but coming out of the gate, that does work.
Yeah, right.
All right. Anyway, back to the recap, which is almost over. We also see how Saturn is reborn as a baby. And Luna says, gee, I wonder what Haruka and Michiru are up to right now. And everybody blushes as Usagi says, well, knowing those two, they're watching the L Word somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Who knows?
Okay, show. Just what a tease, you know?
Well, we'll see.
I know.
Hold that thought for the next recap.
Exactly. One of my thoughts is like we get in this recap, we get to see Tuxedo Max transform. And I would argue we don't get to see that enough. I want to see it more.
Yeah.
It's like one of the only times we see it. And he just appears magically. I mean, I like when he appears magically and he's up high because it's ridiculous. And he seems to be, appearing higher and higher. And it's like, how does he get up there? Does he fly? I don't know. Does his cape give him extra jumping ability?
That's why he shows up. If anybody ever tried to kill Sailor Moon right away, they just shoot her in the face.
Yeah, with a rose.
He's like, I'm here. Rose sinks into the ground next to her body. He's like, I went too high this time. Got it. Third floor, bad idea.
Yeah.
Second floor, he's got it timed perfectly. He's a
Better
second
aim.
story man.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, it's a recap. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. It's a clip show. It's kind of fun to have a look back. But for today, for Kiro Miru, for this episode...
Kiro Miru. Ein.
Ein?
If it's German.
Oh, okay.
Ichi, if it's Japanese.
You're getting ahead of me, because one of the things we're talking about for this Kiro Miru is German.
Whoops.
At least initially. So we are talking about bildungsroman and its influence on Japanese authors specifically. So in literary criticism, a bildungsroman is a literary genre that focuses on the psychological and moral growth of the protagonist from childhood to adulthood.
From crybaby to adult baby.
Yeah, right, exactly. In which character change is really important. And the term comes from the German words Bildung, which means education or alternatively forming, and Roman, which means novel. So it's pretty straightforward. And I just wanted to say, too, that Kiro Miru, they're kind of like mini Kiro Mirus for this episode because we have 3.
Yeah.
So we won't be going as in-depth as we normally do. But the term was coined in 1819 by philologist Karl Morgenstern. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly or not. You can help me because you took German.
Oh, yeah, Morgenstern.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
far, so good.
Okay. All right. In his university lectures, and was later famously reprised by Wilhelm, excuse me, Dilfy? Dilthy?
Dilfy?
Yeah, I don't, Dilfy?
Let's see a picture of this guy.
Yeah, right. And he legitimized it in 1870, and then he popularized it later in 1905. The genre is further characterized by a number of formal, topical, and thematic features. The term coming-of-age novel is sometimes used interchangeably with bildungsroman, but its use is usually wider and less technical because German, we're precise.
Yeah, but this is what literary criticism is all about.
That's true.
Arguing over whether it's a coming-of-age or a bildungsroman.
Right. And sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't.
I don't know. Let's talk about that.
Right, exactly.
Here's a paper.
The birth of the bildungsroman is normally dated to the publication of Wilhelm Meister's apprenticeship by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Did I say that right?
Do you mean Goethe?
Goethe. Oh
yeah.
My God. Goethe.
Right.
In 1795 to 1796, or sometimes to Christoph Martin Wieland's Geschichte de Agathon of 1767.
Des.
Agathon.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Good though.
All right. Although the Bildungsroman arose in Germany, it has had an extensive influence first in Europe and later throughout the world, including Japan. A Bildungsroman is about a protagonist developing maturity, as we said already. And here's how the stories are generally structured. So initially, there is a loss. The protagonist sustains an intense emotional loss at the start of the story, usually during their childhood or adolescent years. Then there's a journey, which is incentivized by the loss. The protagonist goes on a journey, either physically or figuratively, to find the answer to a major question and obtain life experience that will assist them to have a greater understanding of the world and hence grow and mature. Then there's usually a conflict and personal growth. The protagonist's path to maturity is a challenging one. They blunder and typically clash with society. However, as the story progresses, the protagonist gradually accepts the societal standards, and in turn, society accepts them. And then finally, maturity. The protagonist exhibits vast psychological growth, alteration, and maturity by the end of the story. And the story sometimes ends with them assisting someone else on the route to maturity.
So Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle is a Bildungsroman.
Probably. I haven't actually seen it.
Get really high. They experience a loss of calories. So they must go on a journey to White Castle where they learn, and maybe they help somebody else get White Castle at the end. I don't know.
Is Bill and Ted a Bildungsroman?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Although, how long does it have to take?
I don't think that there's like a standard length of like how long it has to take. At least I didn't come across that in my.
Because maybe that's one of the deciding factors. Because a coming of age could take place very quickly. You know, It could be like, oh, you're all grown up now.
Right. Yes. Absolutely.
And that's kind of what Bill and Ted experience.
Yeah.
And they even kind of cheat in the second film because they leave at the climax of the film and then come back after 18 months of intense guitar training.
Right.
To just
exactly. That's
the
growth.
skills they need. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like most, this is something that I think most people are familiar with. They just don't know there's a label for it. You know?
Yes.
Most like Charles Dickens heroes are all heroes of a Bildungsroman type story.
Yes.
Ironically, like a lot of anime are all. If you're going to, try your hardest to be Hokage, I guess that's something of a Bildungsroman.
Well, and I would consider Sailor Moon to be a Bildungsroman because, like, that's what we're talking about.
We're talking about it.
Yeah, I know. And interestingly enough, if you look up on Wikipedia and Japanese Bildungsroman, one of the things that's listed there is Cardcaptor Sakura. So
why that specifically?
I don't know, because honestly, when I think of anime, I feel like there's a lot that would be considered Bildungsroman. And I guess, I mean, this kind of goes without saying, but it started as a literary term, but it kind of like bled into other media and everything. So obviously films and anime and that sort of thing.
Ash is going to be the greatest.
I read recently that he finally became like I don't remember what the actual term is in Pokemon, but like a professional trainer. Like the show has been around for like 30 years.
I don't know. I don't follow it.
I know. And it's like, he's just been a novice like most of this time.
I guess so.
He's been trying to catch them all.
It's a long apprenticeship.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Long road to maturity. But the Bildungsroman has become very popular genre in Japan. And one of the earliest examples of this is military surgeon turned novelist Ogai Mori's novel. Very interesting guy. Seinen is the name of the novel, which means youth.
Right.
Which was published in 1910. So it's been around for a while.
Okay.
Considering Mori's background, he spent 4 years in Germany for his medical training, and the beginning of his literary career focused on the translation of German literature and philosophy, including work by Bildungsroman trailblazer Goethe. Did I say that right this time?
Goethe.
Oh my God. And what a difficult language.
Like Goethe.
Yeah. It is not surprising that Mori would be attracted to this genre. And this is compounded by the fact that a Bildungsroman is about the awareness of the protagonist's identity of self through their incorporation into society and its morals.
Mm-hmm.
And this genre was probably especially appealing to Mori and others who were experiencing the growing pains and search for individualism that were generated by the modernization and uncertainty of the Meiji period, which was when this novel was published.
Okay.
Which was, as we've talked about before, a period of tremendous transition and change. And he's somebody who fought really hard for individualism and freedom, which is something that you don't necessarily see a lot in Japan.
It definitely was on the rise in the transition between the Meiji period.
And he felt like the literary people in Japan, the critics and stuff like that, were not very open to that idea. And so he fought very hard against that.
Huh.
And I mean, there's other examples that we could list. Like Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice and Emma both kind of go under this.
Yeah.
Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Little Women.
Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man.
Yeah. Even Dune could be considered a bildungsroman, which I think is interesting.
I guess you don't have to end up in a good place at the end, right?
No, you do not. The novel Never Let Me Go could fit into this as well.
Mm-hmm. Which is by a Japanese author, but is very much in the British tradition of like British scholastic literature. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that? Well, another day.
I don't actually know, but yeah, it talks about the protagonists are in school together.
Yeah.
And which
is the setting of a lot of these.
Yeah, because it's like people coming
English
of age.
novels of the 20th century.
Yeah.
And your separate pieces and that sort of thing.
Exactly. So, that's kind of just an intro, a short little look at bildungsroman and how it is influenced. I mean, obviously there are other Japanese authors.
It'll all be on the test.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? Strangely enough, as much as she loves food, there's no food really featured.
You want to get any food on their new brooches, I guess?
I guess. I mean, they could have easily been at a cafe or...
yeah, they've done that. That
right.
was the last special.
I know, right? Villain Gage, where you rate a baddie.
The pigeons are eating seed.
Okay.
Gotcha.
All right, you're right.
So there's some sweat or something like that?
Some sweat?
S-U-E-T?
What?
Sweat.
Is that like what feed is called?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Time a pigeon make it break out in a cold sweat.
Okay. All right. Sure. Yes. So the pigeons are eating. There we go. Villain Gauge, where you rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. I mean, we're only rating new villains, and there are no new baddies in this episode unless we want to rate Morga again. I mean, she's a great villain. So.
No, I don't think we can really do a rating for this one.
I don't think we can.
Not complete.
No. So I guess I wanted to mention too that I do have, this is under Sabu or Dabu. This is the only thing I have for the special, but I'll mention it now. The Pretty Soldier Sailor Moon Super Special was first released by Viz Media in North America on April 24th, 2018, as part of Sailor Moon's SuperS Part 1, which was the first Blu-ray and DVD combo pack and included the first 19 episodes of SuperS as well as the special. So in North America, we had to wait quite a long time to be able to see this.
What a treat for English viewers.
Yeah, and it is special,
Yeah.
So I don't have any trivia for this episode, so we are up to our rating of this episode. I love how scared Usagi gets at the prospect of Luna telling Chibi about how she became Sailor Moon. I love how Usagi calls Tuxedo Mask the most reliable ally of all. I mean, if you need someone to appear in a second story window and say an encouraging speech, then sure, I guess I agree.
She's aware of it.
Yeah.
I think some Itadakimasu would be the bacon that he saves every time he shows up.
Well, that's true. I like the jazzy version of Moonlight Densetsu that we hear once we see the...
I haven't heard that one before.
No, I know. With the Moon Princess fighting Beryl. And I like how Chibi was impressed with a description of the battle between Princess Serenity and Beryl. And then she said that Usagi has the vitality of a cockroach. Like, Thanks so much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool doing a look back, but not a lot of new stuff and all that stuff. So I'm going to give this 2 out of 5 roses.
You have to kind of rate it, as we've talked about before, on its own terms. Does
That's
it
true.
accomplish what it sets out to do?
I guess.
Because when you've got, like, nothing's ever going to beat the episode 45 with the battle at point D. You know, nothing. If that's, we're not rating these on like a list of 200 to 1.
I guess.
So like I would. That being said, I would give this. I'd give this a 3. I think it does what it says it's going to do. It is almost 100% previously seen footage.
Yeah.
But they do wrap it up with a nice little modern story where everybody's still kind of doing bits and doing in character. And it's funny because we talk about there being 3 things, but there's really kind of just 2. Do you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
We are reviewing this separately as a scene in
Yes.
itself. It does get its own title,
Yes.
but it is the wrapper that then leads us into the next story.
Absolutely.
And there's at the end of this, they go and check out this story. You know, this is kind of like when you've got a comedy show and you've got your opener / MC, you've got your mid,
Yeah.
and then you've got your feature.
That's true.
You know, and so
Yeah.
we go. I think I got all those terms wrong, but whatever. So the opening guy comes on and he does his act. He does part of his act, and then he brings up the next person. And she does her act. He comes back and makes sure the crowd's still hot, and then brings on, the feature, and then and we're done. And maybe at the end he comes back and goes, "All right, everybody, have a good night. Tip your waitresses, blah blah blah." And that's kind of what we get here. So it's like, yes, you're included, but you're not really bringing a new story. But we're going to call you, a performer on the bill anyway.
I totally understand what you're saying. I think that's a good analogy.
But I think it does exactly what it's supposed to do, and it's fine.
All right. That's fine.
And it's good to know that they're like, oh, well, we got some new stuff. Because sometimes they just get new stuff and they're like, well, back to my life.
Yeah.
I got wings now. Whatever.
Right.
Like,
I'm
they're
not
like,
going to acknowledge it
oh, these
at
are
all.
actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
If these get any bigger, though, we're going to be like Flava Flav here, hanging off my neck.
Yeah. My English title for this is Transforming Usagi, Blooming Warrior.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mine has a connection to a couple different things, which I will explain, hopefully not too pedantically. But my title for this is going to be Twice Told Tales.
Okay. All right.
Which I think applies to this episode. Twice Told Tales is also the name of a story collection by Nathaniel Hawthorne. The title of which is inspired by a line in Homer's The Odyssey.
Really?
Which apparently can't be a bildungsroman because he already an old man. So him trying to get back home. I guess what does he learn? Just like don't hang out with sorceresses that turn your men into pigs.
I mean,
but
it's a journey.
The first part of the Odyssey, which is often left out, is the journey of his son Telemachus from his home searching for his father, in which he goes on his own sort of little quest and learns to be more self-sufficient. It's called the Telemachy.
So
it is in its own way.
Yeah.
A bildungsroman.
The Telemachy could definitely be a bildungsroman. So
Wikipedia says so.
yeah, right.
Well, there you go.
Well, we got to listen to Wikipedia, so.
America's most trusted news source.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't trust anything else. So, as you said, Chibiusa and Usagi and Luna and Artemis just kind of wonder, I wonder what Haruka and Michiru are doing now. And then we just kind of intro to the next episode. So episode 2 is entitled Haruka Michiru Futatabi Borei Ningyo Geki in Japanese. Haruka and Michiru Return, the ghostly puppet show in the English translation, and Haruka and Michiru Return, the ghostly puppet play, the English title. So just a little different from the translation to the title in
What's
English.
a puppet play? What's wrong with puppet show?
Nothing.
Okay.
And actually, I think it's more straightforward, if you ask me.
I still think that there's some kind of like trademark or something, or they get paid more, or they have to change it or something like that.
Why do they have? They feel like they have to change it.
Because it's a translation in the first place. Like,
I know.
It's not, all right, whatever.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, we do. We know what's going on
Yes.
because we immediately begin this new episode starring
do.
Haruka and Michiru. But first, terror! We open in a dungeon? I
Yeah.
guess?
It's really...
Not like that one episode of the L Word, though. We see... I can't remember. I think it starts with L. I can't remember what it's called, though. Every episode of the L Word starts with L. I don't know. It's a weird thing. They committed to it.
Wow.
We see a candelabra, and next to it, seated in a big chair, is a mustachioed man in a tuxedo with a freakish clown dummy on his lap.
I know. It's terrifying.
And the dummy, I think, is saying, I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
The man says, no, dummy. We're having guests soon. Mind your manners. I quickly checked the DVD case of the anime I'm watching. Nope, Sailor Moon. The dummy says, but I'm really hungry. And we hear the sound of a stomach growling. And the man says, you're right. But the dummy says, what do you mean you're right? That was your stomach. All right. Classic ventriloquism bits.
Yes.
Yeah. Tentatively, I'm on board. Now I'm going to drink a glass of blood while he talks.
Yeah, right.
The man says, this is a Haruka and Michiru episode, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
The man says, honestly, my stomach is totally empty. And the dummy says, me too. For hundreds of years, my stomach's been empty. She says, like, I don't have a stomach.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm starving.
Yeah.
There's no jokes to make here. I don't know what to do. Like, they're doing their own act. The dummy says, we only have to hold out a little longer. A feast is on the way.
Uh-huh.
And we blessedly cut to a large seaside mansion at night. Many expensive cars are parked out front, including the 2000 GT.
Yep.
And inside we see a green-haired woman sipping a glass of wine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, wait, the dummy's back. It's dummy time.
I know.
He says, what's inside my bottle? I forgot to mention that he's holding a bottle, and the bottle has a face.
It's terrifying.
And it's got an articulated mouth.
Just like he does, like a
I
ventriloquist
don't know if
mouth.
the bottle's going to talk. I don't know. We'll see. We pull out and we see a dining room full of guests in fancy dress. And they're all watching the ventriloquist put on a show.
I have doubts.
Doubt?
I doubt that this is
This
the way
is not
that you'd
real.
entertain all these fancy people. You know, like fancy people, they go up to their seaside mansions and they let some guy do Sarite, Senior Wences bits.
Yeah, everybody knows
Yeah,
this.
this is really popular.
Yeah, right. And they're thoroughly entertained and titillated.
Madame P, honey. Yeah.
Jolly good.
The ventriloquist says, this bottle contained all the true desires of everyone in the village, so everyone was too scared to open it. And the dummy says, we have to break the bottle to rid the world of evil. The man continues, hearing this, the knight protected the bottle. He would let no one open it. And everyone laughs, because it was probably funnier in Japanese. And we see now that Michiru is there at a table alone, and she's in like a lavender Nehru collared belted blouse.
Yeah.
With a blue shawl. I don't know what's going on here. But it's something different.
Mm-hmm.
A waiter approaches to refill her glass, but she waves him away and she stands up. And the act goes on as the man says, in the end, everyone fell under the spell of the evil witch. Ha 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 ha. Ah, thank you. I'll have what she's having. Take my soul, please.
Yeah.
What?
I know.
He says, the braver the soul, the more fearful to learn their true desires. How brave. Anyway, here's Ahmed the dead terrorist.
Oh my God.
We see Michiru leave the room and we focus in on the man's eyes. And we get a big sting. Is that supposed to mean something?
I think so.
You'll have to watch to find out. We see Michiru enter her room upstairs, and inside we see a maid and Haruka. Let me finish. And the maid says, you're covered in sweat. Let me finish. Because Haruka, you see, is in bed. Let me finish. Because she's sick.
Yes.
There's probably an episode of the L Word like this.
Oh my God.
What if the L Word was more like Three's Company? All kinds of like wacky misunderstandings and like they're all living in a house, right? But
It'd
like,
be so
Mr.
different.
Roper thinks that they all, go to a nursing school or something.
Oh my God.
I got a pitch for Showtime.
And they act like they're straight around him or
Yeah.
something like that.
They're like, yeah, let's watch some football. He's like, does that make sense? I don't know. Everybody can like football.
Yes.
The maid says, it looks like your fever is down, but Haruka doesn't look good.
Mm-hmm.
And the maid says, would you like room service for dinner? As she dabs Haruka's forehead. And Haruka grabs her hand and says, if you bring it yourself.
I know.
Game takes no days off.
I know.
The maid says, I will. And Haruka says, thanks. I'm lucky to have such a pretty girl wait on me. And we're having a moment here.
Uh-huh.
A moment that is shattered when Michiru slams the door upon entering.
I know.
And says, I'll take over from here. The maid excuses herself, and Haruka says, oh, you're back early. And Michiru says, you seem to be feeling better.
Uh-huh.
And Haruka says, did you find anything? And Michiru saves like a half a second for a little side eye before she says, I did sense an evil presence. And Haruka says, I'm sorry, I'm sick right now. It's a bother.
Uh-huh. As
Michiru dabs her forehead, she says, if you were just sleeping, it wouldn't bother me. Just sleeping.
Yes.
This episode of the L Word's called Lying Down. Haruka quickly changes the topic by asking, what kind of evil presence? And Michiru says, it's different from the Deathbusters. If it was from outside the solar system, we could sense it better with our outer senshi powers.
Uh-huh.
But ever since the eclipse, I felt it. And we see an image of the eclipse that happened in the first episode. So there we go. This takes place in continuity currently.
Yes.
Good to know.
Yes.
As she says this, we pan across and we see that there's a clock in the room in the shape of a harlequin.
It's terrifying.
And one of its eyes pops open.
I know.
Is that bad? I don't know.
I think it is. Yes.
A man looks. Oh my God, no. A clock activates. Oh no.
You don't want that. You don't want an activating clock.
When a painting has eyes or gets out of its painting, bad. When a mechanical thing just does something mechanical. Oh my God, a bird came out of that clock. It's a cuckoo clock.
It might be.
It's a cuckoo clock.
This is fan theory. It might be a Japanese cultural thing because they have a lot of mechanical dolls and puppets that have articulating faces. So
are they terrified every time they forgot they put 2 Duracells in there?
No, but I think there are ghost stories about dolls and puppets coming to life and terrorizing people.
Oh no, that doll that was designed to move and make noise is moving and making noise.
Yeah.
From her bed, Haruka says, crisis might be closing in on the Earth again. And we focus in again on the clock's literal face as it match cuts to the dummy.
Yes.
Which we probably could have just done in that first shot.
Probably.
Who says, allies of justice, over and over again. The man says, no, you mustn't. A sidekick who says poetic lines is not suitable for an evil wizard. And I believe him because he has a weird third eye in the middle of his forehead.
I know.
And his human eyes actually flash red. And he says, the feast you spoke of earlier. It's these guests, is it not? Mm-hmm. Well, who should we start with? They all look so good. And as we pull out, is this the act? As we pull out, we see that everybody in the dining room is face down in their desserts.
I know.
And a scream tears the air as we see the maid has stumbled upon this grim scene. And the man says with an evil grin, if you're prone to screeching like an owl, you'll never grow into a refined lady. Evil sexist etiquette tips.
Yes.
On a balcony overlooking the sea, Michiru stares out at the moon and we see a hand reaching out for her. As she spins around, we see that it's the screeching maid.
I know.
Who says, I'm sorry. But Michiru says, well, I'm sorry to have scared you. And the maid says, it's chilly for this time of year. You should go inside. And Michiru says, no, I'm fine. And turns back when she senses that something isn't right. As she turns around, the maid begins throttling her.
Uh-huh.
In Soviet Russia, service turns down you.
Oh my God.
The maid, her hands locked around Michiru's throat, pushes her to the edge of the balcony, laughing insanely as a glowing third eye bulges from her forehead. Mm-hmm. Michiru struggles fruitlessly in her grasp when suddenly the maid collapses to the ground. Michiru clasps her throat. She hears a cry from Haruka's room. Losing no time, she Neptune planet power makes up. We cut to the room where Haruka is being constricted by tentacles that emerge from a starry rift coming out of the wall.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I know.
The man and his dummy, you just found a Lovecraft, son. The man and his dummy watch this happen, and the dummy says, let's eat her energy at once. Haruka thinks, no, you don't. And her transformation rod emerges from her sleeve. Never go to bed without it.
Yeah.
What does this rod do exactly?
It transforms her into Sailor Uranus.
She doesn't get the joke. But before she can transform, she begins to lose consciousness. And who knows what they're doing?
9 seconds? How long does this take again?
Before she can transform, she begins to lose consciousness. She lets the rod fall. And the dummy says, itadakimasu. And its wooden mouth gapes open as energy pours from Haruka into the puppet. Haruka is in agony, but we hear, hold it. The balcony door opens to reveal Sailor Neptune, who says, I don't know your motives, but you won't succeed. The star of the deep sea, I'm Sailor Neptune, and I won't forgive you. The dummy says, I guess you got past the maid. It's like a little Groucho.
I
You
know.
got past the maid. Neptune says, release her at once. But the man says, no. And the dummy says, it isn't often that we find people with such energy. And Neptune says, well, we're going to see about that. But the man says, whoa, wait, hear us out. Me and my associate here. You can't hurt me. I have the spirit sealing bottle in my hands. Do you know what happens if it breaks? Did you see my act? I'm very good.
Yeah.
The dummy says, what happens? What happens? He says, the shadows of everyone on this planet will attack their masters. Whoa, that's bad. And Michiru imagines a scene in which this happens to innocent people. But she says, you've got no proof this is true. But the man says, you have no proof. It's not true. I am very intelligent.
Ha ha.
And the dummy says, true or false, true or false. Neptune is kind of stuck on this. And the man says, being a guardian of justice has its drawbacks. Well, I'm going to drain your friend, and if you so much as blink, I'll break this bottle. Neptune's answer to this is deep submerge.
Yeah.
And she blasts at the pair, causing the man to duck and drop his dummy and the bottle, which shatters on the ground. And nothing happens.
I know.
And that mouth never moved.
No.
Weird.
Which is kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
It's like
he had a ventriloquist act within a ventriloquist act
yes.
that we never got to see.
I know. The
dummy-
puppet had a puppet.
The puppet has a puppet.
Yes.
All right. I guess he doesn't get to finish his thing. She's going to finish him first. Neptune says, are all the shadows on the earth attacking yet? And the man says, how did you know I was lying? Neptune says,
I didn't, baby. You just told me.
The rift in the wall vanishes and Haruka is released from her bonds and collapses back into bed. From the floor, the man says, you bitch! You would have destroyed the world to save your friend! And Neptune says, do you watch this show? A world without Haruka isn't worth saving. Hard agree.
Yes.
Haruka says to herself, that girl, always going off on her own whims. Uranus, planet power, and makeup! And she becomes Sailor Uranus. Still sick, but made up.
Right.
Contoured now.
Right. She's pulling herself together.
As the man cowers back on the floor, Uranus cracks her knuckles and says, it's time to thank you. But Neptune says, no, dummy, the puppet is the real bad guy. And on the floor, the dummy's like, oh, shit. Uranus says, the human was the puppet all along. Yes, yes. So what do we do with it? And as the dummy gets up to flee, Uranus gives with a world shaking, pitting the puppet against the wall. And as it's being hit by this Dragon Ball, it's like, I just woke up and now I have to die before the dead moon conquers. And it is shattered by Uranus's blast. The third eye disappears from the man and the rest of the guests awaken unharmed. Later on the cliff, Haruka and Michiru are leaning against the 2000 GT, and Michiru asks, how are you feeling? Haruka says, the fight brought my health back. She's holding a piece of the puppet with an eye on it.
Yeah.
And she says, looks like we have a new enemy. And Michiru says, don't worry. The world has a Messia and those girls. And Haruka says, you're right. We can trust those girls. Where's my transformation rod? The end.
Yes.
There's a lot of, there's some spooky scares.
There are.
Whenever they go to a hotel or a hostel or...
Yeah, good point.
there's spooky scares.
Uh-huh.
But there's a lot of... and you talked about cultural stuff. There's a lot of spooky scares that they don't do right or like are confusing.
Yeah.
In my favorite haunted house movie ever, Hausu,
Yes.
they both understand spooky scares and then they like make fun of spooky scares. There's a lot of things that happen that are like intentionally anticlimactic.
And ridiculous.
A guy turns into bananas.
Yeah.
Because they are playing on what you expect out of a spooky scare.
Yes.
But in this, it's like, the old man, or the ventriloquist man is like, oh, maybe this will be a thing. And it just kind of goes on. Or Michiru's looking out of the thing, and she's like, oh, somebody there? Oh, no, nobody's there. And then a hand comes out, and she's like, oh, there's somebody there.
But like the hand, there was like psycho music almost.
Yeah.
And it was like...
Well, maybe she's part psychic, but like...
Yeah.
And then like the maid is like, "Oh, is everything okay? Yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, that's pretty good. All right. I'm gonna strangle you. Yeah, okay." Ah! And then while she's strangling her, Michiru starts to realize, like, oh, this girl's possessed. She's got these marks of possession.
Yes.
And then instead of like doing a magic trick or using the focused totality of her psychic might or whatever, the girl's just like, "Oh, I'm done. I just fall down."
Yeah, that was weird.
She ran out of a battery or something?
I don't know.
And then there's the thing with the little clock or whatever. And so there's all these things that feel like there's more depth somewhere. But of course, this is not based on anything. We know that there is not.
Right.
It's hard to fake a lack of depth.
I would agree with that.
Caliban.
Yeah.
2022. Oftentimes, like when you adapt something, there are things that you leave out and people go, there must be something there. I know there's nothing. Maybe they wrote a longer script and it got cut down or something.
That could be.
Or maybe there's just something that I don't get about the spooks and the scares that they're trying to do.
I think all of that is really good points. And some of it could be like cultural and just things that we don't know and we don't understand. Or like you said, it could just be like maybe they wrote a full episode for this particular episode.
These are all essentially full episodes.
I mean, they're a little bit shorter.
They lack like a middle part.
Yeah. But then they had, like you said, they had to cut it down and truncate it. So maybe some things were kind of left out.
Yeah.
I have no idea where the dummy and the ventriloquist were at the very beginning. It does kind of seem like a dungeon because there's candelabra or whatever. And it's like, what? And we're creepy and we're not human and like at least right now, I mean, the ventriloquist guy is possessed. We find out later, but
yeah.
I have a couple of things for this episode. So we see the hotel room where Haruka and Michiru are staying, and there are 2 double beds. I noticed, and I'm kind of like, what are you trying to say, show? But then it reminds me of TV shows in the 50s. Like we can't show this couple in the same bed together. But then I was also like, maybe they just had to get a room with double beds. Like there wasn't anything else left. I don't know. But it seems almost like they're trying to say something.
It's not that there's nothing left. It's that Japan can be a homophobic and traditional country.
That's kind of what I thought it was.
I think they had to get a room with double beds. Now, if they wanted to, this is actually like going more than halfway. But when we get to the room, we could see that the beds have been pushed together.
Yes.
Explain that to your kids.
Right.
Right.
But then I was also thinking, were there 2 beds because Haruka is sick and she doesn't want to get Michiru sick?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just felt like it needed to be brought up. And then like the maid is taking care of Haruka. I don't understand that. Like where in the world does a maid do that kind of service? Like take care of a guest that is sick?
Well, is this a hotel?
Great question. Is it a hotel or is it somebody's home that they've invited people to?
Right. Is it like a gathering,
Right.
This is the kind of thing that probably could have benefited from being a full episode.
Yeah, because we need more like exposition.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Or at least more depth to what's going on and the stakes.
And why.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
All right.
And I mean, you talked about this already, but I love how like even when Haruka is sick, she's like flirting with people. And then like she seems kind of embarrassed that Michiru caught her flirting with somebody else, which I feel like is interesting because I feel like we haven't seen that before.
Play on, player.
I know. So I don't know.
Play on, player.
I realized watching this that, so first of all, I feel like this episode really showcased Neptune and Michiru in a way we haven't necessarily seen before, and like how powerful and strong she can be, because I think she is a lot of times overshadowed by Haruka. And then I also realized how much I miss these characters.
Yeah, it was great to see them again.
It was really great to see them again. So yeah, let's move on to Kyo Miru for this episode. And this episode, we're going to talk about bunraku, which is also known as ningyo doruri, and it is a form of traditional Japanese puppet theater. It's one of the big traditional kinds of theater in Japan. I would consider it one of the big 3 along with kabuki and no.
Okay.
And it was founded in Osaka originally, and it still has, to this day, there's a lot of bunraku focused in Osaka.
It's a puppet play.
It's a puppet play. And it was founded in the beginning of the 17th century. And so like I said, it's still performed today. There are 3 kinds of performers in bunraku. So there is ningyo tsukai or ningyo zukai for puppeteers. So it's like different. Yeah.
What?
I know they have different names.
What is it? How is that different?
Ningyo tsukai or ningyo zukai. So
Okay.
Su or Zoo?
I guess you don't go down to the zoo to see the lions and the bears. So.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
Then there is the Taiyu or chanters.
Huh.
And then
What?
yeah, I'll get to it. And
Are
then
all Japanese puppet shows spooky?
no.
Well, you had to think about that.
I did. And then shamisen musicians.
Huh.
So the combination of chanting and shamisen playing is called joruri, and the Japanese word for puppet or dolls generally is ningyo. So what bunraku is also known as is combining the words ningyo joruri. So
This sounds pretty spooky. This sounds like the opening to Silent Hill.
it is not. I would say overall it is not. I mean, unless you don't like puppets or dolls,
Oh,
then I can't help you.
Okay.
So bunraku's history goes as far back as the 16th century, but the origins of its modern form can be traced to around the 1680s. It rose to popularity after the playwright Chikamatsu Monzemon began a collaboration with the chanter Takemoto Gidayu, who established the Takemoto Puppet Theater in Osaka in 1684. The puppet heads can be quite mechanically sophisticated. In plays with supernatural themes, a puppet may be constructed so that its face can quickly transform into a demon.
Ooh.
So maybe it can be spooky.
Like, see, flip something around or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Less complex heads may have eyes that move up and down, side to side, or close, and noses, mouths, and eyebrows that move.
Huh.
So I think you can look at our ventriloquist dummy and see that there's probably some inspiration there from bunraku puppets. Bunraku puppets typically range from 2 to 4 feet tall, so they're quite large. Most bunraku puppets have 3 puppeteers. The omozukai, or the main puppeteer, uses their right hand to control the right hand of the puppet and uses their left hand to control the puppet's head. The Haidu Zukai or Sashi Zukai, different names again for the same thing, or the left puppeteer, typically manipulates the left hand of the puppet with their own right hand by means of a control rod that extends back from the elbow of the puppet. And the last but not least, the Ashizukai operates the feet and the legs of the puppet.
Okay.
Bunraku training can take up to 22 years.
Oh my God.
This includes 2 years in a bunraku training school. Then puppeteers start puppeteering by operating the feet for 10 years, the feet and the legs. Then move to the left hand for 10 more years before being able to perform as the main puppeteer. And they are the stars of the show.
Hey, you're on left-hand duty. Don't talk to me.
Right, exactly. Puppeteers perform in full view of the audience, generally wearing black robes. In most traditions, all puppeteers also wear black hoods over their heads. So that could be a little creepy.
Huh.
But a few others, including the National Bunraku Theater, leave the main puppeteer unhooded, a style of performance known as dezukai. Again, they are the stars. You see their faces. You come to see the show because of the puppeteer.
This guy's good.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, he was the butt for a long time, but he's moved up now.
He's moved on. So usually a single chanter or taiyu recites all the character's parts, altering his vocal pitch and style in order to portray the various characters in a scene. Occasionally, multiple chanters are used. The chanters sit next to the shamisen player, and some traditional puppet theaters have a revolving circular platform for the chanter and shamisen player, which rotates to bring replacement musicians into the scene. So if you have more than one chanter and a shamisen player, you have them on this circular platform, and there's like a wall or divider behind them. And then on the other side of the circular platform is the new chanter and shamisen player. So they do like a little switch.
Yeah.
And then like there's like no time in between.
Yeah, turntable.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty cool. In bunraku, the futo zao shamisen, which is the largest shamisen and has the lowest register and fuller tone, is used. Sometimes the shakuhachi, which is a type of flute, the koto, and various percussion instruments are also used in performance. Bunraku performance typically takes around 3 to 4 hours. Traditional Japanese theater is usually pretty long. I would consider kabuki and no to be in the same boat.
Good luck keeping a kid still for that long.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the one thing is like kabuki is kind of less formal, and so people often bring food and eat it while they're watching the play.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, anyways.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know. No is like the more serious one out of all three. And bunraku and kabuki, they often have similar plays, or the plays are adapted from one form of theater to the other. So it can be like the same subject matter.
Oh, I saw this as a puppet show last year. It was great.
Yeah, now I'm going to see it as kabuki. Right, exactly. Exactly right.
Who's the butt?
Yeah, I know, right?
Who's the butt in kabuki?
Yeah, right.
No, you're the butt still.
Yes. And I also read that bunraku is the playwrights theater, while kabuki is the performers theater, because the performers in kabuki, we talked about this when we talked about kabuki.
It's really more of a butts medium.
Yeah, right. Well,
kabuki.
It's all about the performers because they can ad lib and change the play.
Yeah, I bet the writers love that.
You can't do it in bunraku. Yeah. So, there are 3 major classifications of plays. The Jidai mono, or historical plays, which portrays historical events and characters prior to the Edo period. The Seiwa mono, or contemporary plays, that depicts the love affairs of commoners and the events of everyday life and events throughout the Edo period. And the Keijoto Keiji plays, in which music and dance are the focal points. So... and as one example, the prime example, the play Sonezaki Shinju, or The Love Suicides at Sonezaki by Chikamatsu Monezemon, was based on an actual love suicide.
We've talked about this, haven't we?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's pretty well known. The real double suicide happened in May of 1703, and the first performance of Sonezaki Shinju was in June of the same year.
Oh, he's got to get that up on the stage.
I know.
Come on, all right.
I know.
Come on, butt, get in there.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to be the bottom half of a person throwing themselves off a cliff.
I know.
Someday you'll get to be the top half of a guy jumping off a cliff.
I know. At the time, it was revolutionary to base a play on current events. Sonezaki Shinju was immensely popular, so much so that it inspired many couples to die of love suicides. In the first year of the play's premiere, at least 17 couples died of love suicides, which is pretty intense. So in 1722, the government banned Chikamatsu's love suicide plays because of their content's popularity. So they were like, okay, all right, it's almost 20 years later, we're going to ban these plays, because he wrote other plays that were based on love suicides. That's one of the most famous type of plays that bunraku has.
Have you seen the bottom of the cliff?
Yeah,
you can just step off.
Yeah,
There's so many bodies down there.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta stop
There's so many puppet bodies down there.
It's terrible.
It is, but it's I mean, it's hard not to. It imprints on your mind, you know. I just like.
Well, you know what? People 10, 12, 13 years ago, people wanted to go to Pandora, and I bet they will again. When the water of the Cats of the Water comes out.
What?
Avatar 2.
Yes, that's true.
People take media seriously.
Sometimes a little too seriously.
And I don't know, maybe they took it more seriously back then.
Maybe because there wasn't as much of it, and it was like...
I don't know.
Well, it was
We
like
got a lot of crazy things going on right now in our world because of what's in the media.
Well, that's true.
But we'll get political later. Go ahead.
All right. Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat in this episode? So at the beginning, Dummy-kun tells his puppeteer that he's really hungry and his stomach has been empty for hundreds of years. And the puppeteer is hungry too. And then at a dinner party...
Man, the only thing I got inside of me is your hand. I'm hungry is what I'm saying.
I know.
See, like, this is the kind of stuff that we could have put in there.
Yeah, it is. And then at the dinner party in the mansion, Michiru is drinking red wine, and like it looks like other people are having a full meal. She's just drinking wine. Dummy-kun says itadakimasu and opens his mouth wide, preparing to eat Haruka's energy, which is honestly really terrifying.
That was the food that was eaten in this episode.
Right, exactly. Feeling engaged, we rate a baddie 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. So we never learn the name of the possessed puppeteer guy, but his ventriloquist dummy is named Dummy-kun. Dummy is pretty self-explanatory. Dummy-kun appears to be a puppet, and he has white skin, pointy ears, a ventriloquist dummy's mouth, one large round eye with eyelashes and a single tear, and a smaller almond-shaped eye with a large red star around it. His outfit looks like a court jester's outfit. There is a big light green collar that covers his shoulders. His shirt is orange and has a pointed hem. On his shirt, there are green buttons and green spiky cuffs with a red cuff band underneath. He wears a red belt tied into a bow in the front, green pants, and light red pointy shoes with pom-poms on the toes. He wears a red and yellow striped pointy hat with a green pom-pom on top, and he holds a purple bottle that has a face similar to his, except the star is pink instead of red. For our rating, Dummy-kun has a cooler design than the puppeteer, but that's because the puppeteer needs to blend in, and we learn out he's actually a possessed human. The third eye on both the puppeteer and the puppet is really creepy. That's what really sells this lemur to me. And apparently Dummy-kun can make an entire room lose consciousness and create minions with third eyes, which is pretty creepy. The idea of a puppet who can make its own puppets and is in fully control of its own movements and behavior is just, it's a lot. So I'm pretty creeped out by him, so I'm going to give him 4 out of 5 dark stars.
It's important when you're a performer to receive feedback, and you can't get better unless you hear, process, and accept feedback. And so I'm going to give these performers some feedback by giving them a 2 out of 4 star, 2 out of 5 dark stars. I appreciate fellow performers. I appreciate it's not easy, but we're not getting this story about there's a bottle in the night and stuff like that. I know we're coming in the middle. Yeah. But your act should be digestible. You're suggesting some classic dummy bits like he's the who now is the dummy, now is the dummy, now is the dummy. But you're not paying off any of them, and I like the fact that I feel like the cartoon for children anticipates that we are going to guess that the man is the dummy and the dummy is the demon. Yeah. Especially when we see that they're possessing people. Don't confess that you didn't get it because it's going to make you seem like a little kid. But we've got 2 heroes, and so one hero gets that, but then the other hero doesn't get that. So the hero can explain to the other hero, no, the dummy is the bad guy. Right. So it's like you eat the cake and have it too. But I mean, like, again, this is another thing that like feels like it suffers because it's not long enough, even though we've got another one to do. They're all long enough. So I'm just gonna have to give it like a 2 out of 4. Could be better. Do something cool. Have a cooler mustache.
See me after class.
Costume, something. Yeah.
I mean, the mustache and the eyebrows match. They're both bushy.
I think you're still butt material. You're not ready for the head yet.
So for our rating, I like how even when Haruka is 6, she flirts with other girls. I like how Michiru comes into the room, sees the flirting with Haruka and the maid happening, and waits a while before slamming the door to announce herself. I love that the puppeteer tells Neptune to just hold still when he drains the energy out of Haruka, and she immediately hits him with deep submerge, and just all hesitation is gone. I love how we get an extended Michiru and Uranus music playing after Neptune's attack. And I love that Michiru says a world without Haruka isn't worth saving. I really enjoyed this, but I do think that there were parts of the story that I have questions about, and there were kind of holes and everything. So I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 roses.
Accomplishing what you set out to accomplish is what I have personally made the point or the raison d'etre of doing a review. And so for that reason, I'm going to give it 2 out of 5.
Wow.
I just don't think that it does what it wants to do.
Okay.
I mean, it's great to see Haruka and Michiru again. Kind of feel like this is the only time we're going to see him. So, drink it in. Mm-hmm. But they are on point. They are 100% who they are. It's good to know that nothing has really changed for them all that much, I guess. But this goofy thing, and I don't know, it just doesn't really work for me. This is a spite review. I'm more just disappointed. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Could have been more. I think the idea of a ventriloquist dummy bad guy is very funny, and having them staying in this hotel and Haruka's getting in trouble is also really funny, but not funny enough. Not funny enough.
Okay.
And for them to just go, there's a show out there. There's still a show out there.
Yeah.
We're not going to be on it, but there's a show out there. It's like, why bring him back? Why not have baby Saturn like playing in a crib and like blowing up toys or something like that? Whatever she's up to. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's who we've got real questions about.
Yeah. Right.
That I'll be answered in the future, I'm sure. So anyway, interesting idea. Didn't execute in my opinion, so I got to go 2.
Okay. Fair enough. My English title is Demonic Puppets Love Underestimation.
Love underestimation, suicide blonde. My title for this is Dummy Sick.
Okay. I don't get it.
I'll just look it up.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Trust me, it's funny.
I do trust you. So episode 3 is entitled Chibiusa no Boken Kyofu Kyuketsuke no Yakani in Japanese. Chibiusa's Adventure, The Dreaded Vampire Mansion, the English translation, and Chibiusa's Adventure, The Vampire Mansion of Terror, the English title. So again, we had to change it just a little bit.
Change something so we can justify our jobs.
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
Good.
I think that's what it is.
You got it.
Yeah. So why don't we get right into the recap for this one?
Well, you would have to, because it's a sunny day.
Yes.
At Juban Elementary. A perfect day for a vampire. The teacher is introducing a new student to Chibi's class, Lyrica Hubert. Mm-hmm. She's a girl with lilac hair, a kind of severe, old-timey magenta dress, and lilac eyes with no pupils. I mean, these kids have seen Chibi-usas. They got to be ready to accept a lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, she's got red eyes, so.
We see Chibi-usa looking this new girl over, and her friend leans over to her and says, "She's so pretty." It's Momo! Mm-hmm. I should make a note here. Momo has purple hair now. So, if there's something wrong with the transfer student, I mean, in every anime world, everybody's got something going on with their hair, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so maybe she fits right in.
Yeah.
Also, Momo is still in a Cheongsam, and no one else is in a uniform. So do you not wear uniforms in elementary school?
I think that is an animated choice.
Okay.
And I think maybe it's something
you gotta tell these kids apart somehow.
Right.
Let's give them unique clothes, and every one of them's got every color of the rainbow in their hair.
That's right. And I think maybe it's something that depends on the school you go to, too.
Okay.
So
well,
maybe
she's going to that good private school.
Right. No uniform.
The Tsukino's really kicked in for this kid.
Yeah. And the thing for Momo that is in the manga is that she is...
Is it in black and white? They didn't know what color her hair was or something like
probably. But her family is Chinese and they own a Chinese restaurant. So
No. I remember why she's Chinese. Yeah. I'm just saying, like, this was, a backup story. And so maybe there was just never any color. And so they're like, well, let's just make it purple. Because it was brown before. She had regular hair before.
Yeah. I don't know whose choice it was to make it purple.
Well, Chibi says, she's got such white skin, like snow, and those fangs are awesome. No, not yet. Not yet. But mine as well.
Yeah.
And everybody is flipping out over this lyrica. You heard about this lyrica?
Mm-hmm.
And Momo says, these guys, they sure like pretty girls. Is this what like a year does to our Momo? This is no Momo. I'm going to call her FOMO.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Fake Momo?
A hand comes down from behind and grasps her shoulder. And when she whips around to its owner, a boy who has his face down on his desk is just sitting there. Again, it's a weird hand fake out.
It is.
We're going to get another one of these, actually. Spoiler alert. As we go, she says, Kyusuke, not you too. Hey, it's Kyusuke.
Yeah.
Who was just a prick in that other episode.
But now they're friends.
He's got green hair now, by the way.
Oh, my God.
Is this beauty school dropout class? These guys are probably jazzed about having lyrica. Oh, we need a lilac for the hair color gang. Yeah, we got it.
Gotta have all the colors of the rainbow.
He says, come on, man, I'm hungry. I didn't eat breakfast. You got food? I'm going to die. And Chibi and FOMO look at each other like, boys, am I right? And we got a full-blown 1995 R word here.
Hold on a second.
I was really pissed.
At least in my translation.
In mine too.
Yeah.
It's like, why use that word?
What?
Because I was listening to the Japanese
What the hell?
and it was baka something.
Yeah.
And, which is
No, you
like,
made a choice.
idiot. You made a choice.
Yeah.
And I am upset about
What
that.
the hell,
choice.
fan subbers?
Yeah.
I want to just put something in real fast here.
Yeah.
This situation weirdly reminds me of the anime in Japan that was then localized in America called Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
And it's become something of like, not even an urban legend because it's real, but something like an artifact of early anime localization in that it was an anime in Japan about kids who go to a haunted house and deal with ghosts and vampires.
Right.
One of them has purple hair. Another one is like a kid with glasses who's got a brown hair. And then there's another girl who's kind of feisty.
Yep.
And it apparently it was a manga that became an anime and it was a huge failure. Like it did not do well at all. For whatever reason, Japanese people just didn't like it very much. And so at this point, like, the thing was, we give it to ADV in America, and then they do what they do with it, like they did with Neon Genesis Evangelion and Elfen Lied, and it's like, mega hit. And at this point, they just gave it to America and said, we're just so in the red on this. Like, we're taking a bath. Do literally whatever you want to it. We're not going to have any kind of requirements about casting or story or anything like that. Just try to make it popular. The only thing you can't do is, like, you can't change, like, the way the ghosts are important because they're like, part of mythology or folklore, but you do whatever you want. And so apparently the ADV people were a little stir crazy. So they're like, you know what we'll do? We'll just wing the whole thing.
I'm sure I'll live a long, miserable life of heartbreak and alcoholism before a ghost takes me out.
Yeah.
And so they had like people showed up to record it, and whoever got there first on the day of recording got to pick like what it was going to be about.
I'm all alone, forgotten, like a black family in bush America.
And then they, as other people would show up, they would sort of like improvise all this stuff until they were just doing like, oh, look out, old lady. They're just making up all the lines as they went, like MST3K'ing it, which sounds really fun.
Hello, sinner. God, can you go bomb an abortion clinic or something? You just wait. When that wonderful president finishes stacking the Supreme Court, we won't have to.
But unfortunately, it's the early 2000s. So there is a lot of stuff that just would not fly in a respectful society.
Right.
And it's not quite as funny to listen to now.
Yo, Sensei, dig. What's haps on the craps with snaps?
Cracker.
But you can still hear it, though. They actually did do like it was republished later on because it kind of, I think ironically, returned to popularity because of its notoriety. And so they did like a straight dub later on. But yeah, you can still hear the ADV dub today. It's real goofer.
I thought
Content warning for everything.
Drop the Krispy Kreme, Serpico. We need your help
Did
here.
my house look like my father and my brother after 9 months?
Yeah, boogity-diggity-diggity-diggity-diggity-diggity.
After school, Chibi and friends are walking Lyrica home. She says she lives in that big mansion up on the hill. You know, the abandoned one.
Right.
That's haunted. All of this FOMO relates, but Kyusuke says, That's stupid. Stop being stupid.
Don't be stupid.
Lyrica says, oh, haunted? Oh, I'm scared of ghosts. Who don't pay rent, the freeloaders. And Kyusuke says, see, she's scared. And she's owed that compensation. She provides housing. What are we going to do? Just give everyone a place to live?
Don't be stupid.
Yeah.
Fauxmo says, I said it was just a rumor, and property is theft. Hippie, fascist.
Oh my God.
To save us from this socioeconomic debate, Lyrica faints into the arms of the other kid here, who is so superfluous, I'm just bringing him up now. He's got glasses, brown hair. It's kind of nondescript. I think. Who's I talking about? Anyway, Lyrica says, sorry, scary stories and right to housing debates make me dizzy. I'll be fine. Brown hair says, my house is on the way. I'll walk you home. And Lyrica says, you're so nice and forgettable. Thank you, whoever you are. And she smiles, and we see a gleam from her mouth that is probably meant to suggest a sharpened canine. But why give it away this early?
Yeah, I know.
Here in this episode entitled, Look Out for the Vampires, Chibi-usa.
Yeah.
Blood on the landlord's hands. Brown hair walks away with Lyrica as the other kids watch them go. And Fauxmo says, boys really are putty in the hands of a pretty girl. And to this, Kyusuke says, feminine jealousy's pretty ugly. And Fauxmo doesn't say, so was your face when I used to punch it in the schoolyard. And that's why this isn't Momo. Instead, she just says, I'm not jealous, while Chibi takes to the camera. She's literally just like, we'll be right back.
Yes.
The next day at school, it turns out that Ishihara isn't there. Ishihara. Oh, the kid with the brown hair. Right. What were we talking about?
I know.
The teacher says, anyway, his parents want to know if they can rent out his room. So does anybody know where he is? Chibi says, Lyrica, he walked you home, didn't he? And Lyrica says, I don't know anything about that. And the subject is immediately dropped.
I know.
On to recess. I guess you'll be playing threesquare today. But Chibi's not so sure. Like foursquare.
Yes, I
Missing
get
one
it.
kid's gonna be
Because he's
threesquare.
gone.
Yeah,
Brown hair's
all right,
gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lost a kid.
Yeah.
Chibi's not so sure. After class, she's walking with Fauxmo, and she says, I wonder what happened to what's his name. And Fauxmo says, who? Oh, yeah. I smell a crime. He's probably being forgotten in some basement right now. They round the corner and see Lyrica in the school garden, tearing flowers out of the ground. You know, normal stuff.
Yeah.
Fauxmo says, hey, you're being mean. And Lyrica says, mean? Is it mean to say that landlords aren't trying their best in these tough times? Flowers aren't allowed here, by the way, so I'll be salting the earth and pouring concrete over this. That really happened, by the way.
Really?
I'll link the story. Chibi says,
Okay.
Flowers shrivel and die, but they bloom again, and just ripping them out isn't right. Lyrica says, you girls are funny and tasty looking. And she pats Chibi on the face.
I know.
No touchy.
I know.
As she walks away, Chibi thinks her hand was so cold
Uh-huh.
and smooth. Like she's never worked a day in her life because she's a landlord.
Oh my God.
And we see Lyrica walks away. She's got that flower that she picked and it wilts in her hand.
Mm-hmm.
And Fauxmo looks down to see all the flowers in the bed are dead too.
Mm-hmm.
And a cold wind blows as we transition to Chibiusa's mouth yawning. Not one of your best transitions, Sho.
No.
Not the strongest of match cuts. And Kaisuke agrees because he hits Chibi in the back of the head and knocks her over?
He's kind of abusive.
What the hell?
To him and to her and Momo.
He's
Yeah.
like, what's up, Chibiusa? And from the ground she says, I had something on my mind last night. I couldn't sleep. He says, Kuwano is missing now. And Chibiusa's like, who? Look, I'm going to need some kind of flow chart if all these forgettable people are going to disappear. Kyu says, he walked Lyrica home yesterday. And Chibi says, who did? Oh, Kuwano, right. Well, let's go check this out. But before they can begin checking it out, they see Lyrica arriving at school in a hearse. They start following her and they see that she's gone back to picking flowers. Chibi wants to stop her, but Caillou says, wait. And as they watch, Lyrica just eats a flower?
Uh-huh.
Oh, delicious. She seems to sense that she's being watched, which is a thing in this series of episodes.
I know.
No hand, though.
No.
And as she turns, we catch a glimpse of sharp teeth. But she sees nothing. But we see Chibi and Kaisuke cowering behind the wall of the schoolhouse.
Yes.
Chibi says, people don't usually eat flowers, right? In this century? In the future, we do all the time. At the Sakino household, Chibi has told all of this to Usagi, Mamoru, and the squad. And the consensus is that Lyrica's a vampire.
Yes.
And I love how they have Ami lay everything out for her.
I know.
Ami is a nerd. She's a science person, right? She's
Yep.
read a lot of books. You know, she'd know that Bram Stoker wrote a book called Dracula in 1897. Has she also read a lot of grimoires and tomes and ancient scrolls?
In her spare time, when she's not studying for the exams, she's a vampire.
She pores over
expert.
the monster manual.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got 12 HD.
Yes.
She says that vampires love strong scented flowers, which is a new one for me, but okay.
We'll get to it.
Makoto leans in with a flashlight under her chin or something and says, Hubert Manor on top of the hill, known as Hell House. That's Hell House,
Yeah, and take a look
not
at what
Hull
happened to
House,
him.
the institution founded by Jane Addams in late 19th century Chicago to provide shelter and support to the poor and homeless.
Oh, no.
No, this is Hell House.
Oh, my God.
Helping the homeless? I don't think so. Chibi's like, okay, I'm scared now. Minako gets in on the act and she says, vampires live in coffins and feed on the blood of maidens. And Ray says, the only way to kill one is to put its body on a cross and stake it through the heart.
Uh-huh.
Too Judeo-Christian for you, Ray. She is a manga fan, though.
She is.
She's read all of Hellsing. Usagi says, there's another way. Vampires hate garlic. And when it comes to garlic, Korean barbecue is the best. Classic.
I know.
You expect a big, everybody falls over thing here, but everybody's like, yeah, let's get Korean barbecue. Uh-huh. So yeah, a win for Usagi.
I know.
And Usagi's like, and it's Mamo's treat. And he's like, great. So this is, write it down, the day Usagi killed. She had them all in the palm of her hand.
She did.
The next day at school, the teacher gives Chibi a handout to give to Lyrica at home because she can't reach her by phone. And it's here that we see the downside of the autonomy of Japanese children. I can do it myself.
I know.
I can go into that vampire's den. And I rode the subway to get there.
Yes, exactly.
This is like a Treehouse of Terror episode.
I know.
It's just going to be Fauxmo and Kaosuke back to back in an empty classroom. And Lyrica's going to show up with a bottle of soy sauce. And speaking of F and K, they say they're coming along, but also, what is that smell? And Chibi's like, I ate a lot of Korean barbecue yesterday. And rolled around in it, apparently.
And didn't brush my teeth.
Yeah, I guess.
No.
We cut to a coffin. Now we're getting somewhere. And out of it rises Lyrica. And then the doorbell rings. Mm-hmm. Isn't that always the way? You're replete with the blood of tenants and ready to get your torpor on. And the company shows up.
Oh, my God.
We cut outside of the house, and it's pretty foreboding. Even on this sunny day, a shadow seems to cover it. Outside the gate, Chibi says, what's that smell? And pushes her way in, followed by Kaosuke and Fauxmo. Inside, they find a graveyard full of yellow daffodils, just like the one that Lyrica ate. Mm-hmm. As the kids look at the flowers, we see a vision of a clawed hand reaching out, of a blood-red scene.
Yes.
But when the kids turn around, it's Lyrica. And she says, oh, you all came to visit. Thanks.
Yep.
Luckily, our office is open. It's open every other Tuesday.
Oh, my God.
On leap years. Inside the house, they're sitting in the tea room having tea, and Lyrica says, me? A vampire? Please. What's his name? And the other guy went straight home after walking me here. Chibi says, I saw you eat a flower. And Lyrica says, these? And she opens a box of candied flowers, which is a real thing.
Is it really
Yes,
a real
it is.
thing?
Fauxmo eats just one and is like, oh, they're tasty. And Chibi says, well, guess I was wrong. That explains everything. Fauxmo says, can I use your bathroom? And Lyrica says, I'll take you there. Not the master bath, of course. And as the two walk through the darkened corridors of the house, we see their shadows on the wall. And Lyrica's appears to morph into some kind of monster. And we hear Fauxmo cry out. Little Nosferatu action here.
Yes.
Back in the sitting room, Kaisuke is going to town on that box of flowers. But Chibi says, it's been kind of a while. And he's like, maybe she's pooping.
That's gross.
Oh, ghost stories. How could you even make fun of this?
I know.
I challenge you to do it. The two of them run to see what's up, but they pass an open door, and looking in, Chibi sees a vaulted room. Oh, I didn't know this house had a cathedral. With a coffin on a dais, and on the dais, Lyrica is on Fauxmo.
Yes.
On her throat, that is.
Yes.
Chibi hides behind the door and says, I knew it. Knew what? Says Caillou. And Chibi says, Eep. And he says, Eep isn't an answer. What is it? This is ghost stories. This is exactly what they do. He pushes open the door to the room and sees Fauxmo and the other two stacked by the coffin, but no sign of Lyrica. Oh, there she is, as she pops up right behind them saying, now you've seen everything. Chibi says, what did you do? And as Lyrica floats in the air, just normal stuff.
I know.
She says, I just took a little blood and raised their rents by 15% without capital improvements.
Oh my God.
Then she transforms into... let's face it, she turns into a Darkstalkers character. This is just Morrigan from Darkstalkers.
Yeah.
Sexy female vampire, wings, and the whole deal. She says, Chibiusa, so full of sweet, delicious blood. You are my target. Kaisuke, to his credit, stands in front of Chibi, but he gets knocked aside as Vampire Mommy prepares to step on Chibi. She says, how cute. Dinner time. And she opens her jaws wide, but a red rose sinks into the marble of the chamber. Up on the window ledge. Tuxedo Mask is here. He says, stop right there, ancient monster. Not in my backyard. Just then, Usagi appears in the doorway, and she and Chibi transform into Super Sailors Moon and Chibi. Chibi Moon says, you pretended to be a frail girl to take advantage of the kindness of boys. And Sailor Moon says, even worse, you tried to eat them. And when are you going to fix the heating in this place? In the name of the moon, we'll punish you. Mistress Lyrica says, impudent brats. But she was too early, because here's the rest of the Sailor Senshi. Sailor Mars says, let's use our time-honored attack. But Mercury says, no, it's too dangerous. We won't get our deposit back. Jupiter says, it has to be powerful. We're up against a bloodsucker, who's also a vampire. And Venus says, well, we ate more than enough. The girls unleash their Sailor Special Garlic Attack.
I know.
And they all breathe on the vampire, who didn't provide adequate ventilation in the building, so she's choked by the smell.
Oh my God.
Mercury said, you're going to get an email from management on this one. Mercury says, now Sailor Moon and Chibi. And Moon and Chibi are like, wait, that's it? You guys, this is the setup? The Tuxedo Mask is like, don't waste the money I spent on dinner. Come on, Mamoru, you're a homeowner. You don't have a dog in this fight.
I know.
Chibi Moon calls on Pegasus to protect everyone's dreams, though no dreams are at stake here. Thank God. And she gives us a twinkle yell. And Pegasus appears and says, whoa, what is that stench? It smells like the dumpster behind an Italian restaurant.
Oh my God.
Go! And Usagi gives us the Moon Gorgeous Meditation. The vampire says, don't think you've won. I have friends in the housing authority. It's liens for all of you. Oh Stage out. And Lyrica returns to normal and collapses. Chibi goes to check on her, and I guess she was just possessed by a vampire.
So. Yep.
What?
I know.
My metaphor is totally falling apart now. She's a sock puppet on Facebook? I don't know. She was driven by market forces to maximize the profits of her properties. Anyway, she's fine, and so are the kids that she bit, I guess. We never really see them bite anybody. Whatever.
Know.
Chibi says, you just had a really long dream. And from the second-story window, the Senshi and Tuxedo Mask look on as Sailor Moon says, it looks like everything worked out. My parents own their home.
Oh my God.
We cut unexpectedly to the Dead Moon Big Top, where we see the Amazon trio appearing before Master Zirconia. And Zirconia says, a lemur has vanished somewhere. Never mind, we need not fear. There are countless lemurs sleeping beneath the earth's surface. And we pan back to the shadows of the trio, and out of them boil a legion of spooky red-eyed forms.
Yes.
Usagi shows up to put a bow on everything. She says, well, that's my story. Whoever shows up, come to me with all your problems. Everyone there's like, okay. Usagi's like, come on, answer me, man. Don't leave me hanging. Well, she's saved by the bell as she gets a call on her watch. A new enemy has appeared. And Usagi gets up and says, come on, we gotta fight for justice. And runs off. But Chibi says, wait, do you know which way you're going? And she goes, haha, no. And Chibi's like, I worry about her.
Yeah. We all do.
I gotta tell you, sometimes baby love is not enough.
Oh my God.
It's not enough
Yeah.
to
I
wait to
know.
get to baby love.
I know.
And so instead you do housing industry criticism theater. Take a bow.
That was intense,
Someday
man.
I will not be the butt anymore.
I mean, you stuck to it.
No one got, thank you. No one got scared. I guess they prepared by eating the Korean barbecue.
Yes.
But their, let's say 7 now, 7-year-old friend says, I'm being hunted by a vampire. And they're like, crazy. What do you guys want to eat? Where are we going?
Yeah, I know.
And then it's like, all right, well, let us know how that works out.
I
mean, they do
know.
run in at the end, but wouldn't this just be the part where you go, okay, Chibi, you go into this holy water lined bathtub
Yeah.
with a blessed coffin cover over it and just lay there, and then we'll go take care of this monster. No, actually, go check it out and, report back if you can.
I mean, like, it's like you said, like the independence of young kids. Like, I'll do it myself.
Yes.
Like, Chibi-usa gets.
And don't get me wrong. She's, constantly being, tied to train tracks and falling off cliffs and just throwing herself off cliffs.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. But, like, it's specifically, hey, guys, I think you got a vampire. Unless they are just messing with her. Because they do blow it off and go have Korean barbecue. But not because unless they have danger sense, they all show up.
They do.
Yeah, we don't get a sense that, like, the girls are like, kids. Right, kids. But then Mamoru's like, I'm used to, like, I guess crawling on rooftops, like watching people. So maybe I'll do that tomorrow. And say, okay, we got us a vampire here.
Yeah, right.
But
like,
that's the missing 5 minutes.
Like,
from
did
the
Chibi,
episode.
like, call them and she's like, I'm just going to head over there. And then they're caught up to her?
My final thought, which I'm giving before we're even done talking about the 3rd episode, is these benefit or these don't benefit from being treated in long form. I feel like if these were shorter, they'd be snappier. And instead, they're almost long form. But in adding extra minutes, there's too many loose ends for me to really feel satisfied.
Yeah. I totally get
They
that.
are the fish
and I
with
agree with you.
legs.
Yeah.
Fish, fine.
Right.
It's a thing with lizard, fine. Fish with legs. What does he do with those?
Right. Like, there's something missing there.
Get him a paddleboard.
I don't know what it is. There's something missing too. Like, okay, we all agree tuxedo mask can appear in a 2nd story window, no problem. How are they all in the 2nd story window at the end?
Like that's hiding or something.
Yeah. Like, we're not here, and so we're not part of Lyrica's dream. And then we get, like, a little bit of explanation, like, what do these people who get attacked by the monsters, what do they think? And Chibi's like, oh, you were dreaming. Do they tell that to all the
They
victims?
may have gone, well, yeah, right. They never answer that question ever. But, like, they may have gone out for Korean BBQ on a Thursday night, and this is after school Friday.
Yep,
but it kind of feels like they were, at Ray's or I think they were at Usagi's house.
Yeah.
On like the weekend, and then on Monday morning, Usagi or Chibi's told to take the flyer.
I mean, it could be.
So that means that these kids have been missing for like 4 or 5 days
Yeah.
apiece.
Yeah.
So
I
like
know.
there isn't. Everybody fell asleep is not going to cut it here.
Like, I'm missing a couple days. What's going on?
Right. Yeah.
I have no memory.
I've got a beard.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right.
7-year-old.
Yeah.
But by the growth of my peach fuzz, it's been 7 days. So
Rip Van Winkle.
it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
But what you do is you just leave that crap out, right? You just don't set it up so it ends up that way. You do it all with a unity of time, place, and action.
Yeah.
On a summer's afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's how deep do you want to go down the vampire hole? You don't want, speaking of holes, 2 of them in the neck of a child in a child's cartoon.
Yeah.
So I get that we don't go crazy, but like, if you're going to do a vampire, we're talking about drinking blood.
Yes.
Historically, these guys, it's an energy vampire. I can accept that. But then why they have fangs? Is Momo going to become a vampire in 3 days?
Great question.
No, they killed the master vampire, so
Yeah.
she's probably fine. But still, like, there's all these things that they could have done with vampires that they just didn't really do.
Yeah.
Also, am I now we're getting into spoiler alerts.
Okay.
And the
I'll be
alert is
careful.
for you to not spoil.
I understand.
But it seems like we are, and not with the goofy ones we've seen so far, but it seems like the lemurs, like their namesakes, are meant to draw more on shadowy figures.
Right.
You know, if Pegasus is the archon of positive dreams, then the lemurs are nightmares.
I think
So
so.
they're drawing from, so it makes sense to have like a vampire or a werewolf or something like that.
Or a creepy
Or
puppet.
or a creepy puppet.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, child's play.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
I think so. I would agree with that.
You're not saying anything. And that's good. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they literally form from the Amazon trio's shadows. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And we do get like confirmation that these are
There's a
lemurs.
catonic sort of idea to this.
A
Like
catonic? What does that mean? Like earthquake and
related to it has to do with mythology, and it's like related to gods or beings that are related to the
Yes.
earth and sort of underworld.
yes, I would agree so. Definitely. And we got the circus theme too. So some of them are just like circus performers.
And then also circus.
Yeah.
Because
And
we
that's
all
there
that
too.
carnies spring out of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fully formed carnies out of the earth. Yes.
No kidding.
So for Kuro Miru, for the third episode, we're going to be talking about vampiric creatures in Asia, which include the nure-onna, the jiang-chi, and the aswang. And I will get to all of them in just a moment.
Okay.
That's a tease.
What would happen if Uranus fought the aswang?
Oh my God. I know.
Did I jump the gun on that?
A little bit. Yeah.
We'll get there.
It looks like aswang, but it's not pronounced that way.
But it is though.
Oh, no, it's not.
That's
Aswang.
how Professor Matt says it.
Okay. Japan has no native legends about vampires. However, some Japanese mythical creatures bear some similarities to vampires.
Whoa, ho, ho, ho. Roll it on back. The Japanese have no native legends about vampires.
No.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
Why?
I think maybe it might have something to do with them closing their borders for so many years because like
Well, okay, yeah, I know. But I mean like okay, you're right. But you're going to tell us about a Philippine vampire later.
yes.
That has nothing to do with mainland Europe, right?
Yeah, but it might have been we'll get to it. There is
Oh,
some
you're going to blame it on Magellan?
No, but there are some European influences that come in later.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like most societies have legends about revenants, about
Correct.
when you put somebody in the ground,
Yes.
we know for a fact they stay there. So it's the scariest thing in the world that if they don't stay there. And so
Yes.
almost all cultures have something like that. It's interesting to me, and they got ghosts and stuff like that, but it's interesting to me that the Japanese are never like, oh yeah, this guy comes out and it's like, give me some food, something.
I mean, it might also have something to do with the fact that
Give me a blood.
yeah, I know, but like most Japanese have a Buddhist ceremony where they're cremated, so they wouldn't have reanimated bodies because their bodies aren't buried in the ground.
Can't wait till we get to the aswang.
Yeah, I know. So there are some Japanese mythical creatures that bear some similarities to vampires, such as the nure-onna, which literally means wet woman, who is a snake-like woman that feasts on human blood. Japanese vampires made their first appearance in the cinema of Japan during the late 1950s. So that's when we first see something kind of similar to what we know in the West as vampires. The nure-onna is a Japanese yokai which resembles a reptilious creature with the head of a woman and the body of a snake. In legends, they are often said to consume humans, but they have no single appearance or personality. Their name... they differ,
Great
right?
body, but no personality.
Right. I mean, like there's different characteristics, I think, in different parts of Japan.
So nothing specific.
Yeah.
It isn't like they're going to wear rented formal wear and talk in a bad accent.
No, and there's some legends that kind of follow it that like seem to be consistent, though.
Okay.
So their name is inspired by their appearance, as their long black hair is always wet in legends. So they usually appear in like bodies of water or near bodies of water. In classical yokai depictions, the nure-onna would have a human face and a snake body. Sometimes they are depicted with arms. And the concept of feminine water turmoil is generally symbolized with a snake. So if like a woman drowns, it's kind of like, they think of like a snake, and that's the symbolism of it.
Okay.
A nure-onna's intentions are unknown, and in some stories, she is a monstrous being who is powerful enough to crush trees with her tail and feeds on humans. And her snake body is said to be really long. I watched one video that said that it's around 10,000 feet, and that her head to her body can reach from one town to the next, which is really creepy. So she can kill multiple people with her long tail.
So tail.
Yes.
There is, I got this from a Hellboy comic, but one time that he fights these Japanese, they're ghosts, but they're yokai, basically.
Yes.
Called Rokurokubi.
Okay.
And it's Rokurokubi are, they look human, but at night their head detaches.
Yes.
And there's two kinds, because there's one that like their head's on like a ribbon or like stretches off like Mr. Fantastic and goes around. And there's another called a nukekubi, where their head like detaches completely. And then they do, I don't know, they do all kinds of stuff. They attack people or steal stuff or whatever. And the nukekubi, if you hide their bodies, if they can't get back to their bodies by dawn, then they're screwed and they die or something like that.
There are similar tales in the Philippines and other parts of Asia that I came across while I was doing my research for this. So it's interesting how things kind of like spread, right? From region to region. And because like people migrate, right? And they go to different countries and they bring the stories with them. I think that's one possibility anyways. Yeah. So she can shapeshift into a human. And she carries with her a small childlike bundle, which she uses to attract potential victims.
Whoa.
Yes. So if a well-intentioned person she often looks like a distressed mother. So if a well-intentioned person offers to hold the baby for her, the nure-onna will let them. If they attempt to discard the bundle or put the bundle down, it is revealed that it is not a child at all. And instead, the bundle becomes an incredibly heavy rock, basically, and prevents the victim from fleeing. She then uses her long snake-like tongue to suck all the blood from her victim's body. In other stories, a nure-onna is simply seeking solitude as she washes her hair and reacts violently to those who bother her.
I can't. I'm washing my hair. I said I can't.
I'm just washing my hair here.
I feel like the ghosts always feel like they have some kind of trick or switch.
Yes.
And it's like a ghost is like a bad joke. Like a joke is when you expect something to happen and a different thing happens.
Yes.
And it's like fun.
Yeah.
Or funny. But a ghost is like when you expect one thing and you get something else and it's really bad. Like the opposite of a joke.
Yes, it's terrible.
Like the lady with I can never remember what it was, but we talked about it on the show. But the lady with the cut smile, the ugly face or it, and she's got the scissors, and it's like, what do you think of my face? And you're like, it's great. And it's like, okay, here, you can have it too. Cut. You say like, oh, it's not good. She's like, oh, you called me ugly? And she'll kill you with the scissors. And it's like, well, I'm not to say anything.
There's not a good answer. Yeah, exactly.
Wait, no, I can get out of that one.
You just run away.
Well, how do you think you look? Let's talk about your look.
Here's a mirror. What do you think?
I love what you've done with some of this. I think it can work. You're more of an autumn, though.
Oh my God.
Maybe
I've never seen this before. Right? This is a new
Only
look.
Tim Gunn can stop these people.
Yeah, I think so.
No, he's not a makeup guy. He's a
fashion guy.
Clothes guy.
Yeah, right.
Who's a makeup guy?
Oh, God. I don't actually know who's a makeup guy. I don't watch makeup shows. I know there are makeup shows on Netflix.
You watch the Queer Eye. Who's the makeup guy on that?
JVN is the hair guy, and he does skincare, but he doesn't really do makeup.
Yeah, there you go. He's like, okay, now around your gash here, it's a little dry. So what if we try this?
Let's give you some moisturizer.
Yeah.
Just kind of tone your skin a little bit.
Coconut oil. It's really good for
Yeah, right, exactly.
Whew, got on that one.
I know, right? just distract you with beauty products.
Maybe not the best horror show,
No.
but we could try.
So there is a yokai that is similar to the nure-onna, and it is called the iso-onna, which are vampiric creatures. They haunt the shores of Kyushu and western Japan. From the waist up, they appear to be a beautiful woman, sultry and human, with a human woman with long wet hair, and they are found on beaches near the shore. When someone approaches the iso-onna, because they're kind of attracted to this beautiful woman, they let out an ear-piercing scream, the yokai does, which stuns their victim. Then the victim is dragged into the water by the iso-onna's long hair, and then the iso-onna drains their victim's blood with their hair.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, and the hair turns red.
I don't know about that, but that would be cool.
This has got to be in a Princess Miyu episode or something like that.
I could see that.
Somebody's put this in a show.
I mean, really long and wet hair is something that you see a lot in Japanese horror, right? There's a lot to do with hair, and it being creepy and that sort of thing.
What's up with that?
I don't know. Are we?
They hate the wet look.
Are we monstrosizing women?
They would have hated Kelly Brock in the 80s, I'll tell you that
Oh,
much.
my God.
She was always soaking wet.
What is, God, I'm blanking. This is really embarrassing. But in Sailor Moon S, the first big bad, and she comes back later. I can't remember her name right now. She's got red hair, and her hair, she can use her hair to do attacks.
Yeah. Whip it.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's what it reminds me of. Anyways, moving on. Jiang-chi, also known as a Chinese hopping vampire, is a type of reanimated corpse in Chinese legend and folklore. They are kind of, interestingly enough, a combination of vampires and zombies. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. It is typically depicted as a stiff corpse dressed in Chinese shroud, which is sometimes mistaken as official garments from the Qing dynasty, and it moves around by hopping with its arms outstretched. It kills living creatures to absorb their chi, or life force, and usually they hunt at night, while during the day it rests in a coffin or hides in a dark place, such as caves. So there are some similarities.
These are the guys that, like, you can throw rice at them, and they have to pick up all the rice.
Yeah, and you can also...
They have really long fingernails, so it takes a long time for them to pick up the rice.
Right, and another thing, they have so many things. Another thing you can do is you can throw gold coins at them, and they have to count them all.
Oh, well, I mean,
They just have to do it. They stop everything. They're like, oh my God, these coins, I have to count them. The thing with the rice is... It's complicated, but like in China, when people are sick, they would put sticky rice on them because there's like some god that would take people to the underworld, and they thought that the sticky rice would trick the god and they wouldn't take their loved ones' souls. So it's supposed to do something to make the
I'm the specter of death. Oh, is that rice?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Delicious.
The Chinese character for jiang in jiang-chi literally means hard or stiff, and it is believed that the jiang-chi are so stiff due to rigor mortis that they cannot bend their limbs or body, so they have to move around by hopping while keeping their arms outstretched for mobility.
They're doing the Monster Mash thing.
Yeah, and I know it sounds like really humorous and funny, but they can hop really well, and they can hop really far. So just think of them as a zombie vampire, like giant frog that is just like, he's not next to you, and then all of a sudden he's there.
Yes.
Right. So a supposed source of the jiang-chi stories came from the folk practice of transporting a corpse over 1,000 li. So relatives of a person who died far away from home wanted their deceased to be transported home for burial, so they would hire a Taoist priest. The priest would supposedly conduct a ritual to reanimate the dead person and give them specific instructions on how to hop home. The priests would transport the corpses only at night and would ring bells to notify others in the vicinity of their presence, because it was considered bad luck for the living to see the jiang-chi.
Hey, body, we got a body coming here.
That's right. And the practice, also called Xiangzi Heshi, literally driving corpses in Zhangzi, was popular in Zhangzi, where many people left their hometown to work elsewhere. That was just a really popular thing there. Maybe there wasn't enough things to do in that city or town. After they died, their bodies were transported to their home because it was believed that their souls would feel homesick if they were buried somewhere unfamiliar.
Right.
The corpses would be arranged upright in single file and be tied to long bamboo rods on each side of their bodies, while two men would carry the ends of the rods on their shoulders and walk.
This is when their hands are stuck out.
Yeah,
like
because
that.
of rigor mortis.
Well, yeah, but they're on the rods, right?
Yeah, they're
This is
on
how
the
you're
rods.
carrying this guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That's okay, but that's so perfect. That feels like a back formation. Do we know for a fact that people did that?
it seems like
you know what I mean?
historically accurate.
It almost feels like you came up with a hopping zombie and then you went, and it comes from people carrying a body and it looks like it's bouncing up and down.
I get that, but it seems like it actually did happen. I don't know.
It's kind of like the zombie. First of all, there's a lot that we haven't assimilated about Haitian Caribbean culture. And there's a lot that we've put straight into the movies without understanding it. But, there is the idea of a zombie is, something that is one part of the Afro-Caribbean, religions. Yeah. And it's like somebody who is, they believe this so much that they think they've been under a spell. If a guy goes like, you're going to do this for me. And also maybe you give them some poisons and some drugs and stuff like that. people believe that they've lost their souls to somebody. It isn't like the George Romero thing where I'm coming out of the ground.
Right.
That's almost more of a Draugr, Scandinavian kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But that's still like, you could go to Haiti and way back in the day and see people like this and think like, he's dead? Oh, right. It's like, yeah. So you kind of like form that back into, it's a hopping vampire.
Right. Exactly. And when the bamboo flexed up and down, the corpses appeared to be hopping in unison when viewed from a distance. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, you could do more than one.
Yes.
Do a bunch of them.
Yeah, all in a row. It's kind of terrifying.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's the Deadhead Express.
It is. Yeah. Being carried by two guys. Why aren't they being attacked?
Creepy.
I know.
Listen for those bells.
I know.
Stay out of the way.
And there's a lot of things you can do to like counterattack jiang-chi. So I'm not going to get into all of them. Yeah. But sticking a Taoist talisman to their forehead is a way to immobilize the jiang-chi as long as it stays attached. And this reminds me of the ofuda that Sailor Mars uses to attack enemies. Mm-hmm. I do think that it is similar. Something that seems related to European stories of vampires is jiang-chi are afraid of mirrors because they're afraid of their own reflection. So that's a little different, but mirrors are involved. Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting.
All these things come from all kinds of different places.
Oh God, yes.
But there's the idea that, the mirror reflects your soul, and if you are not alive, that you're lacking in that department. Also, mirrors from antiquity were coated with silver. That's how they were reflective, and so silver was seen to have holy or mystical properties, and so that was bad news for a vampire. And so, but it's interesting that that would arise, in the East as well.
Yes, there's a lot of overlap I found, especially with the aswang. And aswang is an umbrella term.
No, aswang is the guy who does the bogling.
Oh my God. Are you doing the Macarena?
It's kind of like the bogling's kind of like the Macarena.
Okay.
All right. Anyway, that's for our UK listeners.
It's okay.
I really have heard aswang. I really have.
I believe you, but I think we're pronouncing it wrong because I watched so many videos and saw like actual Filipinos who live in the Philippines calling it aswang.
Yeah, because they got the note. They're like, "What? It sounds like what?" Okay, it's aswang. Everybody, it's aswang now.
That could
just
be.
Like it's Uranus.
Yeah, right.
Which does have urine in it, but whatever.
It does.
You got to pick your battles.
You do. Absolutely.
You're not butt material.
No, right. You can't do the head, but yet. So you're
Okay.
Let's
move on.
Moving on. Aswang is an umbrella term for various shape-shifting evil creatures in Filipino folklore. These creatures can be organized into 5 categories or 5 major categories that parallel... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. The parallel creatures from Western traditions. You're going to do it. Just go ahead and do it.
The 5 major categories
Yes.
from Western traditions.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were going to do them.
Oh, I will do them. These categories are the vampire. The self-segmenting viscera sucker.
The viscera sucker.
Yes. The werebeasts, usually dogs, pigs, and cats.
The dogs, pigs, cats, chickens, and geese.
The witch.
The witch of the Bowery. Give a little more there.
Sure. And the ghoul.
And Bagul.
There you go.
The 5 major characters.
Yes. And they are mostly depicted as women. So we'll get into it.
Okay.
Spanish colonists who arrived largely to spread Christianity noted that the aswang was the most feared among the mythical creatures of the Philippines. So this creature existed before the Spanish came over.
Sure.
But the Spanish would later use this fact to help spread their faith.
Okay.
Although with no specific motive other than harming others, the behavior of the aswang can be interpreted as an inversion of the traditional Filipino values.
Do tell.
So, like...
Have a body.
Have a body. Have a soul. Be polite. And, especially the family and a close-knit community is really important in Filipino culture.
Yeah.
And... if you're suspected of being an aswang, you're usually kind of acting alone and living in the woods.
Sure.
And you are often ostracized from living in the community.
Sure.
So we will focus on the vampiric aswang. And I do want to mention, too, that this is vastly fascinating. And again, an umbrella term. And there are different legends that fall under this name of aswang from different areas of the Philippines. So we're not going to get to it all. But the vampire aswang disguises itself in the shape of a beautiful woman. So this is all familiar.
Sure.
And it shares its diet on food with vampires of Western culture. However, it sucks blood using a proboscis-like tongue rather than sharpened teeth. This reminds me of the nure-onna who sucks blood with the tongue of the snake as well.
Yeah.
So that could have come over from the Philippines. Some live in forests far from human communities, but the aswang can also infiltrate human society by means of marrying into a community and either slowly draining their husband's blood. Yeah, right. Or else using it strictly as a hideout and leaving at night to raid other villages, thereby keeping their cover intact.
That's their cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
Today, about 80% of the populations in the Philippines is Catholic. Children are taught about the aswang when they are very young and told that they are real. They are essentially used like the boogeyman to keep children from going out at night. The majority of the population believe that this is true, that they are real. Unfortunately, there have been cases where people have believed that family members have turned into these evil creatures, and then the suspected aswang have been murdered.
Yeah, not good.
It's not good. Aswang commonly dwell at night in locations such as cemeteries and woods, as their powers are significantly stronger at night. Aswang in disguise can be detected by seeing if your reflection in the creature's eye is inverted. Additionally, but you have to be pretty close to somebody to tell that.
Yeah.
So that's a little terrifying. Additionally, dogs, cats, and pigs with no tails are said to be aswang in disguise. And especially like large versions of these animals, like people get terrified if they see like a pig or a dog that seems like especially big.
Well, how big are we talking?
I mean, like bigger than normal, right? So like, oh, they're aswang. But going back to the Spanish missionaries and colonists, the Filipinos were not initially accepting of Christianity and Spanish colonization, completely understandable. There were many rebellions which were mostly led by women. They attacked during the nighttime as they didn't have any modern weapons. Like they mostly had like swords and knives and that sort of thing. The missionaries told the Filipinos that these women were evil and that they were aswang. The rebellion stopped because most people believed that the female leaders were aswang and no one would follow them anymore.
Oh,
yep.
Christianity.
It's really bad.
You do it again.
Yes. The Filipino villages also had shamans and midwives known as babalan. And they were the leaders of the villages, and they were believed to be able to communicate with spirits of the dead and of nature. They were really important figures. They were also the local healers, and they were mostly women. The missionaries wanted to take power away from these figures and promote their Western medicine and also Christianity. And so they told the villagers that these figures were evil and aswang. And today, Babylon still exists in the countryside, but they are mostly men.
Huh.
Yeah, because we don't trust women in these positions.
I guess not.
Interestingly enough, so there are so many things that you can do and use to ward off aswang as they take many forms and everything. But the missionaries brought this idea of them being like the devil and the demon. And so also the things that ward off vampires in Europe also were used to ward off vampires or aswang in the Philippines. So you can use a cross, you can use holy water. So, I mean, those are just some of the things, right? Interestingly enough, the name aswang, I read this somewhere and there could be multiple different ways of where it came from. But one idea is that the root words from aswang mean garlic and salt, which I think is really interesting because they are things that are often used to ward off vampires and evil spirits and that sort of thing. They're also really commonly used in Philippine cuisine. So everybody would have them.
Korean barbecue.
Right. Just like everybody in China would have rice, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody has rice.
All right.
Yeah.
So there are terrible, terrible things out there, but they are easily defeated.
If you have the right things.
With rice.
Yes.
Oh, no, I don't have any rice.
Yes. It goes on and on. I could talk about the aswang for a really long time. I know.
I could talk about it forever if it was called an aswang.
I know. There's also an actual really debilitating disease that's kind of similar to Parkinson's that people got in Panay. It's all kind of like centralized right there. So there's a province in Panay that is kind of known as like the hometown for aswang because this disease was so prevalent. Yes, because this disease was so prevalent there and they didn't understand it. And it is a lot of involuntary movements and often people's tongues stick out of their mouth and they're not able to express themselves very well. So it kind of mimics like Parkinson's disease, but like these movements were somehow associated with the aswang. And so these people who have this disease were often like them or their families were often ostracized from villages. Sometimes their families couldn't get them proper medical care because people thought they were aswang. And these are deep rooted things that people sometimes believe still to this day.
Education.
Yes.
It's good for everybody.
It is good for everybody.
Keep the rice on you.
Yes.
You never know.
You never know. Itadakimasu with Usagi. What did Usagi eat?
Hopefully rice.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, sorry.
What did Usagi eat in this episode? Not rice. Although maybe at the Korean barbecue she ate rice. I don't know. But the whole episode is about a vampire. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's...
Flowers.
Yes.
They ate flowers.
Yes. Chibi's friend, Kyusuke, overslept and skipped breakfast. So he asked Mamo if she has any grub, is the word he used in my translation. Lyrica says to Chibi, "Your cheeks are so plump and delicious looking," which is incredibly creepy.
Yeah. Little weird.
Yes. And then, of course, Lyrica eats a daffodil flower. At the Tsukino household, the Senshi and Mamo are eating cookies and drinking orange pop or orange juice. And then Usagi talks about how vampires hate garlic. And when it comes to garlic, Korean barbecue is the best. And she volunteers Mamo to pay. And then Chibi and friends also have tea at Lyrica's house, and Lyrica has a box of sugared daffodils, and she tells them that they are a confectionery. She's like, yeah, this is what I was eating, even though I just ripped a daffodil right out the ground.
I've never just heard of like, give me a bag of daffodils while you're at the pump and munch. But you can, you see candied flowers on cakes.
That's true.
And things like that. And there are
some flowers are edible.
Yeah. Roses, obviously anything that's like, lavender, lilac, a lot of things that are used in aromatherapy.
Yes.
You can eat hibiscus.
Can you eat violets? I feel like I've seen violets on
I think you can. Now, there are some things that you shouldn't eat. Foxglove, anything medicinal, poppies, oleander, that sort of thing. Lily of the Valley. That's how Walt gave to that kid in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And daffodils. You shouldn't eat daffodils.
Really?
Yeah, they can be toxic. But this kid's a vampire, so.
Yeah, that's
true.
true.
Possessed by a vampire?
Yes, possessed by a vampire. So she therefore is a vampire herself?
I don't know, lemurs.
Yeah. I went to
Rules seem kind of iffy.
I know. I went to a nature center as a kid, and they did a lot of things. And like one of the things they did is we picked dandelions, and then we made dandelion fritters, and we ate them.
Sure.
Yeah, it was tasty, I guess. Villain gauge, how we rate a baddie, to 1 to 5 dark stars, 5 being the most wicked. So for the vampire, there's like no name given because it's a separate entity from Lyrica.
Yeah.
So we're going to go right to her design. She has, once she reveals herself, she has pale skin, pointy ears, horns, and I think it's like a close-fitting hat that is black and has a widow's peak and a jewel at the point. Of course, since she's a vampire, she also has pointy teeth. She has red hair, red eyes, purple and pink eyeshadow, and purple lipstick. She has big dark blue bat wings as well, and she wears a purple sleeveless unitard with black pointy overhang on top of which are 3 yellow roses because she loves flowers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard.
Yeah.
She also wears a pointy short hot pink skirt, black tights, and she has black gloves that have a jagged edge, a black choker with red stone, gold teardrop earrings, and red ballet shoes.
Yeah.
Simple design.
What if Batman's daughter wanted to go to ballet class?
Oh my God.
And it was into flowers.
Yeah, right. And had bat wings.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Batman and Poison Ivy have a daughter. Listen, where are you going?
Okay.
And she goes to ballet class.
I'm with you so far.
But she also wants to take pole dancing class.
Oh boy.
When she gets a little older. Also, she goes from, let's not talk about how children become women ahead of their time in this show, but she goes from presumably somebody who's much taller than Momo in that one scene where they're together. She's like double the size of Momo.
She is.
But whatever. Old enough to be in Chibi-usa's class. Maybe it's just a homeroom or something. Mm-hmm. And then is immediately transformed into a slinky vampire lady.
Yeah, so, and a tight-fitting outfit.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
For our rating, I mean, okay, couple of things. She poses as a little girl and takes advantage of young, innocent children, which is pretty dang devious. She keeps saying that Chibi looks delicious or has delicious blood. Her design is pretty cool looking, but there's almost a little too much going on, and I have a feeling that we're going to be saying that a lot this season because it's the circus. And we don't really see her attack anyone in her monster form, which is a little disappointing for a monster. So I'm going to give her 3 out of 5 dark stars.
Okay, I mean, that's kind of respectable, I suppose. I am going to give her a 4.
Okay.
I think this works just fine. It is, like I said before, there's a reason that this works. There's a game called Darkstalkers that came out in 1994, and it is a monster fighting game that is based somewhat on the traditional idea of a lot of the monsters of Victorian novels, which the Japanese love Gothic fiction, so they're right there.
Right.
But they also have a kind of an anime twist to them, and Morrigan is a vampire lady who has bat wings and is kind of slinky and is a vampire girl. And that predates this. So I'm not saying they're ripping it off, but I'm saying that something was already in there, in their zeitgeist or what have you.
Right, exactly.
And so that's all well and good. And I think that it works for that reason. Other than that, she's got a personality. There's a mystery behind her. As far as us complaining about how there isn't quite enough to make an episode out of some of these things, this probably works better than works the best out of what's here. We've got kind of a beginning and a middle and an end. It just doesn't take itself very seriously.
No, it's kind of goofy.
But that's fine. It's a special episode. So I don't have any real problem with Vampire Girl. Might have wanted to see her a little more out of her.
I that's my feeling.
Also, apparently, and maybe we'll see this again, maybe we won't. These lemurs are just working on their own. They don't need to be summoned by anybody.
Apparently.
Maybe maybe there are superior lemurs who can kind of do their own thing. Maybe this is an explanation for, except for the fact that nothing exists in this world until it's introduced in a season.
Yeah.
Maybe these are the explanations for some monsters from history. Maybe the original Dracula was a lemur. Maybe werewolves are lemurs. We don't know.
That's kind of cool. I like that.
Maybe what's her name? Little psychic girl. In the hotel, the beach, and the ghosts.
Yes.
Maybe that was a lemur. We don't know.
Oh my God.
So I like what it kind of adds to my headcanon of the series. So yeah, I'll go for it.
All right. That sounds good. So we have a take a bow for this episode, which is our rating on how our villains left the stage of life. She sounds really scared and angry as she says, "Don't think you've won this. I still have comrades." And she shatters in a mirror, and the actual young girl, Lyrica, slumps to the floor. I think this is about average, so I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 dark stars.
I'm going to give it 4 again.
Okay.
I think that, and I'm really kind of trapping myself here because I think pretty much every other one is just going to be the exact same thing.
I think so too.
Of a still image of somebody going, yeah, and then they die.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the fact that she gets a parting threat.
That's true.
And it also suggests a little more. It occurs to me, just rewinding a little bit, that there's also a vampire girl in the Darkstalkers caves that I think actually came out after this episode would have come out, named Lilith, who is a younger vampire with pink hair.
Okay, interesting.
So if I was going to, why couldn't she just be a preteen vampire instead of, but of course, they are women first and monsters second.
Yes, right.
But I didn't hate this. And, getting 2 or 3 kind of oh, is this it? And then we get one that's got a little variation on it. That gives it a bonus for me. So I'm going to give it a 4.
Okay, that sounds good. I do have a little bit of trivia for this particular episode. Chibiusa's adventure, The Vampire Mansion of Terror, is based on the manga side story, Chibiusa's Picture Diary Chapter 1, Beware of the Transfer Student.
Yes.
This story was published during the Black Moon arc of the manga, which is what the Sailor Moon R season is based off of. In the side story, Chibi dreams of being a sailor Chibi Moon long before she becomes the Senshi herself, and her costume has a cape.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
Little flare.
Like the original Sailor Moon, she had a cape. And then in this episode, Ami says that vampires, again, have fair skin and love strong scented flowers. So I was unfamiliar with the idea that vampires eat flowers or like flowers, so I wanted to learn more. And there is apparently a well-known and popular manga called the Poe family that was published in the 1970s. And it is the story of the Poe family are vampires, and they not only drink blood, but they also devoured red roses, which gave them energy.
The Poe family.
Yes. And Nako was a kid when the Poe family was published and was most likely familiar with the story because it was just really well known.
Sure.
So I think that's how it ended up in here.
Are you familiar with the story that there is actually a jiang-chi character in Darkstalkers?
No.
It's a lady named Hisenko, and she's got boobs.
Oh my God.
Darkstalkers is kind of like one of the boob-centric fighting games, unfortunately.
That's okay. I mean, like all of the...
Teaching you about, old-timey monsters and myths and giving you a bone at the same time.
Right. I mean, jiang-chi and aswang both appear in a lot of films. Like, they're in a lot of media.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well known in their respective countries of origin. So, in our rating, I like that Chibi and her friend are creeped out by Lyrica eating a flower, which I think is just kind of weird and not creepy, but maybe it was the way she ate it. And I love how committed everyone gets about telling Chibi about vampires and trying to scare her. And I especially love that Minako and Rei are acting out stabbing a vampire in the heart with a stake. And if you pay attention, when Usagi starts talking about garlic and Korean barbecue, Rei is still holding the stake over the vampire Minako.
Minako and Rei we don't get that pairing very often.
Not in the anime.
Yeah, we gotta get on one of those.
Yeah, we do. I absolutely love how the Senshi talk about attacking the vampire with garlic breath, and then they actually do it with the Sailor Special garlic attack, and it works. And I'm sad to say that this is the only time we see this attack.
Yeah.
But and then Moon and Chibi Moon's faces and Tuxedo Mask telling them to not waste his paycheck. I mean, that's pretty great. But like, I liked this episode, but I didn't love it. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 roses.
You can't give that many 2s and get a 4, so it's going to have to be a 3. I don't remember what I gave episode number 89. Hey, just keep watching the show. It's going to be more or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But this feels kind of like that. Although, unlike that, which is mainly just, boy, there's big adventures in our future.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you what's going to happen with us.
Right.
This was more, it's like in a comic when you have the writer and the artist are, my hands, I've done 13 issues in a row, and then you let a fill-in artist or writer do a little thing or do a side story. Or sometimes they have backup stories, like in a book that you're trying to hit a page limit on. And then you try to like fill it out a little bit. And maybe it's canon. Hey, if it's a good idea and we ever come back to it, it's canon. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's just something that happens and you can just remember it as a fun little story. And that's literally what this was, right? Yes. In a issue or a volume of Sailor Moon Supers. And so for that reason, I have respect for it, even though I have complained about a lot of the things, I will give it that, the old college 3.
All right. I think that's very fair.
I ain't hating.
Yeah.
But I'm not celebrating.
Right, exactly. My English title for this is Flower Vampire Must Die.
There you go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Says it all.
Or discorporate or whatever happens to the vampire who possesses somebody else's body. I don't want to can a ghost be a vampire? Oh, the ghosts are like, whoa, get away.
A great question.
Give me the ghost of some garlic for this guy.
Yeah, right.
My title is With a Twinkle, yeah. She cried, Mo. No. You have to perform it.
You do.
Yeah, it's part of an act.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Get your act together, show.
Next week is another episode of Shore Leave, where we talk about topics that are typically connected to Japan and Japanese culture in some way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, looking forward to that.
And we've got our topics picked out. I guess maybe we should think about trying to sell what it is coming up, but we don't have any patter ready to go. But just know that, we'll be talking about, as we usually do, interesting topics from the world of anime or Japan. But until then, you can always catch us being interesting on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Also join our Discord and come hang out with us and talk about Japanese ghosts, Japanese mythology, and the figures that we see in this episode. And gosh, we've been really long, so I guess we'll just get out of here.
All right. Well, that's our show for this week, and the Name of the Moon will be punishing you next week with another episode of Sailor Noob.
Was that kid's name again?